You made it all the way to Friday, and I hope things are going well for you. And you can see 10 feet in front of your face this morning. The fog is really dense in some places. I know everybody in here has been talking about it on the way in this morning, so plan on that as everything burns off throughout the course of the day. Got the Pacers playing again tonight. They'll be on the road to Cleveland. The Colts getting ready to go to Kansas City coming up on Sunday afternoon. We had some college basketball last night, all kinds of good things going on there. Before we get going, though, I want to shout out to some people who never get shout-outs, guys. As you know, my two boys over the last 4 or 5 months have both gotten their driver's license, and they've been in and out of the DMV, first to get their permits several months ago and then to go back and get their licenses. And I got to tell you, they've made it, at least on the north side off of 86th there, right across the street from Brebeuf, the DMV up there in that Kroger area. They're happy. I don't know how they do it, Kevin. They're happy people. You go in there, and yeah, you got to wait in line maybe 20, 30 minutes, but each and every person that we dealt with through the entire process for both boys, incredibly helpful, nice, and kind. And we even forgot a document the first time around with Jake, and they were nice, and when we came back, they kind of got us to the front. It was cool.
Mark?
Shout out.
Oh, go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
I was just shout out to the DMV.
No, I mean, they probably get hammered all the time, and
Sure.
people get frustrated with them, and I'm sure it's a high-pressure job. And I just got to tell you, shout out to the folks at the DMV on the north side because they have been incredibly helpful and nice the entire process.
Pull your ticket out when you walked in there. Did you do
Yeah,
that?
had the ticket pull and everything like that. Nobody was yelling at you. You know, sometimes you in your mind you're like 117. 117. No, they were cool. I just want to give them a shout out because they probably don't ever get that, James.
Yeah, Mark, I was going to say back in Illinois and Chicago, they would never get a shout-out. It's the worst experience ever.
Oh, God.
It takes forever. I'm
It was
serious.
night and day when I moved to Indy.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how quickly you can get those things done here in Indiana versus Illinois. It is an all-day affair, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, if you are not lined up, the place might open at 7. If you are not lined up at, like, 6, you're doing it wrong. It's horrible. So, yes, I am glad I'm a resident of Indiana for that reason.
Seeing the kiosks where you don't even have to walk into the building now, and you're like, I need to get my sticker for the year. It's like, what?
Nah,
I can't even fathom that in Illinois.
Count your lucky stars there, Mr. Rickard, because I promise you, if he forgot a document in Illinois, they'd be like, come back in 2 weeks.
Well, all I know is I'm sure they
don't
get
miss it at
grief
all.
all the time, and I'm sure it's a very high-pressure job, and I'm sure people are on them all the time, and it's just line after line after line. I mean, can you imagine going to a work every day? Like how do the people at Chick-fil-A do it? I know they're young kids, and they're always smiling, they're always happy, but there's never a break there. Like, I'm sure that once you clock in at some of these places, it's nothing but lines for 8 hours. Right? And you know they're not getting a ton of money, I'm sure.
I always try to trick them to not say my pleasure because I know that's like their thing they have to say. And I always try to like
That's where you're
word
at.
stuff the ways to like so they can't say it. But they find a way.
Now, I'm sure people are going to
I'm going to
text
trip them
me.
up someday. I'm going to get mine.
I'm sure people are going to text me and say they've had horrible experiences, this, that, the other thing. I'm just letting you know that with 2 kids over the last 4 or 5 months, nothing but roses and sunshine from those folks at the DMV. And I did not expect that, and I just want to give them some acknowledgement for that. That's all. So we can move on to sports now. I've said my little piece.
Jeff is hoping that gets him to the front of the line every time now at the DMV.
No.
Right this way, Mr. Rickard.
I don't
Through
think I
these
need to go
velvet
back
ropes.
for quite some time. We're done for a while. Right? My license doesn't expire for 5 or 6 years. They're good till they're 21.
There you go.
So I think we're good to go. And you'll be doing it sooner than you think, Kevin Bowen. It just goes bam, fast like that.
I really don't want to think about that here on this Friday morning, to be totally honest with you.
Did you or did you not change a diaper already this morning?
Well, yeah, I guess technically after midnight, so yeah,
Okay.
diaper changed, and yeah.
Well, good morning. We've got a big weekend of sports coming up. Some great semi-state high school football. Dominic Miranda is going to join us as he always does at 7:30. Greg Rake Straw will be along at 8 o'clock to talk about all things Indiana sports. And then Matt Taylor returns after a bye week to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts coming up on Sunday. And look, it's past mid-November now, James. In the National Football League, this is where the rubber meets the road, man. Every game means a lot at this point in time. You've either got what you've got in the barn, which the Colts do right now, or you're chasing. And Kansas City is chasing right now, and the Colts just trying to move forward and protect what they have. What do you see happening on Sunday afternoon with these two teams?
We can get into this for sure. I went down a rabbit hole, you guys, yesterday, looking at some advanced numbers for Daniel Jones, the turnovers, what's the issue, what's not, what's real, what's fake, and we can certainly dive deeper into that. But on the surface level, I think a lot of it will come down to both teams and how they bring pressure on each opposing quarterback. You look at Patrick Mahomes this year, he's been great against zone, not so great against man. And does that affect how Lou Anarumo approaches this game? Now, he's had Patrick Mahomes' number in the past, but obviously this is an entirely new team, new game. But with the return of Javarius Mooney-Ward, possibly, he's trending in the right direction, will that allow you to play more man-to-man in the secondary to allow you to get after the quarterback and trust that the guys on the back end can hold up? Because I think you do have to kind of bring some pressure against Patrick Mahomes, because we know, I mean, we can look at everything with Mahomes, right? Bring pressure, don't bring pressure, blitz here, blitz there. He's a very great player, but I wonder if there's going to be some new wrinkles there just because of, you know, how the Colts secondary is shaping up and then where the Chiefs are as well. So very curious about that. And then on the flip side, can the Colts go out there against the number 4 scoring defense in the league, the Chiefs don't give up any points, and make sure that they're protecting their guy in Daniel Jones, who, by the way, like I said, there's some numbers to support it. His time to throw, Kevin, is actually quicker than it was in the last 2 games than it was through the first 8. So people keep saying, oh, he's holding to the ball on certain plays, perhaps, but overall, he's really not doing that, and the offensive line has stepped up for him.
We probably should get to the news of yesterday and the news of today, and that is Daniel Jones showing up on the injury report for the first time this season. So we'll await his status coming up later today. The Colts will practice just before noon, and Daniel Jones limited with a calf injury. A lot I think you can get to with limited Thursday injury reports. You know, we've seen it around the NFL this season already with the Baltimore Ravens getting fined for however you want to describe their Lamar Jackson snafu on the injury report a little bit later. So I do think NFL teams are now uber cautious on putting anything on there on the injury report. But again, first time Jones has been on it all year. And in this market, when you say the letters CALF and you're not talking about an animal, you get nervous. So yeah, we'll see if Daniel Jones' availability here coming up later this morning. And even if he's good to go, which my assumption is he's going to play on Sunday, him limited in the game, I think would matter.
Absolutely.
You don't win the Atlanta game without Daniel Jones' legs, period. He made some massive plays as a scrambler in Germany. So that is definitely a very pertinent topic here on this Friday morning.
And Kevin, to follow up to that, he's coming off the bye week. So you certainly don't want to see anything popping up after everyone's supposed to be fresh, right? So that was certainly something to keep an eye on.
Well, it's going to be I'll leave it up to you guys to go out and check that out today. Did you get the sense yesterday, Kevin, that it maybe wasn't that big a deal, and they were just being ultra cautious because of the CALF word, or maybe there's something really to it?
Yeah, I mean, that's my assumption. But, again, Thursday injury reports are odd. They just
I was reading your story yesterday, and just you can get into it, but the drastic nature of like how one thing could be one thing, and then in a different situation, it can be totally the opposite way.
I mean, we sat here a month and a half ago, and Michael Pittman Jr. popped up on the Thursday injury report, very much like Daniel Jones yesterday, not on a Wednesday, shows up on a Thursday with a hamstring, I think it was, with Pittman. And then we walked out there Friday, James, and Pittman was full go. And I don't even think was on the injury report for Sunday's game. And then a few years back, Julian Blackmon was listed as limited on a Thursday, and he tore his Achilles. So, like, limited can mean you do 1% of it or you do 99% of it. So, again, my thought is Daniel Jones will be fine, but you can't ignore the quarterback showing up in the injury report and just the little dominoes off of it. You know, we can get into an Anthony Richardson sighting yesterday that James and I spotted in the locker room. If Daniel Jones is whatever, if there's any question about his status for Sunday, do you bring up Brett Rippon from the practice squad for the first time all year? So, all of those are big storylines, and we probably should note as well, for those that fell asleep last night, the Colts did not get any help. And that Houston Texans defense...
They have gotten no help at whatsoever since they last played.
Davis Mills, 3-0 as a starting quarterback the last 3 weeks. And that Texans defense coming in this building a week from Sunday, in particular their edge guys. That, I think, is what is further worth pointing out. You look at Atlanta, you look at Pittsburgh, and what they've done to the Colts the last 2 games. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., it's probably the best defensive end tandem in the entire league. Sacked 8 times of Josh Allen. That Houston Texans defense is for real. So
And considering how the Colts offensive line has played the last couple weeks, I was like, oh
particularly
boy,
the edge, particularly
boy.
out on the edge. So
this could be interesting.
And again, I'll reiterate what I said. I get psychologically a win over the Chiefs would carry more weight. More people in the grocery store would talk about it. But the standings-wise, the Texans game next Sunday matters more. They are currently 3 games back, so they're still a little ways away back. But C.J. Stroud should return, it sounds like, next week. And they've got the best, I think, sack edge duo in the NFL.
More importantly, do we like or not like those Texans one-off uniforms last night? I couldn't quite make up my mind.
Boy, I'm going to be honest. I feel like the Texans have worn those before. Now they're just ingrained in my brain.
I'm like, at first I'm like, okay, those
were
are the
they
Thursday
extra
night
red?
things.
Is that what they were?
Yeah, and the helmet was kind of funky too.
I give it like a C.
I felt like I wanted to
All right.
like it, but couldn't get there.
Yeah, it was
Does that make
okay. I
sense?
felt like if I was, I don't know, a kid or something, I probably want that type of jersey.
Yeah. All
I
right,
think
coming
both of their alternate jerseys look like they're like USFL jerseys or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Arena League.
Just bring Herschel Walker with you. It'll be good to go, man. That's
I'll
it.
take it.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll give you the rundown on everything happening in the world of sports as the check down comes your way. Dom Miranda talks high school football semi-state, some big matchups coming up later on tonight. We'll tell you all about that as we continue next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning. Happy Friday. We are in the heart of big-time football at all levels. We will start in the National Football League. The Colts, with an 8-2 record, coming off a bye, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Are the Chiefs set to be toppled? This one starts Sunday at 1 o'clock. I'll ask you before we get into the particulars, Kevin Bowen, could this be the end for the Kansas City Chiefs? If the Colts go in there and win in Arrowhead the way that the Chiefs have been struggling the last month or so, is that the end of the dynasty, or at least a pause in the dynasty?
Yeah, I don't know. I've made so many mistakes about thinking it was the end for the Chiefs. I'm probably not the one that's going to commit to taking the hammer and putting the nail in the coffin there, but it would certainly send quite the message and probably a nail into the coffin. I don't know if it's all the way in there, but they didn't get help last night either. I would assume you would want, I guess, Buffalo is a wild card team, but Houston now is very much lurking at 6-5, so it should be quite the atmosphere in unusual fashion in Arrowhead coming up on Sunday, particularly if the Colts can jump on them early.
If the Colts were able to win that game, James, they would have a 4-game advantage on the Kansas City Chiefs, believe it or not. But the biggest question is, Daniel Jones showing up on the injury report yesterday listed a calf problem. What does that say?
When you say it like that, Jeff, I get nervous. Calf. Oh my gosh, is it attached? But no, that's
we all do in Indianapolis.
I was going to say, that's certainly the reaction we all had, right? Knowing the history here. But yeah, that was the first time he'd been on the injury report all year. My understanding is that they were being very, very, very cautious with him, which makes sense. He's their most important player. And then to Kevin's point from a little while ago, you have to be very transparent these days, considering the amount of money that's in betting with injuries and stuff like that. So I was getting asked this yesterday by a lot of fans. I would not freak out or be worried until I see today's injury report and the status from there.
All right, so that'll happen 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Colts at Kansas City. Anything else we're worried about going into that game as far as injuries or availability or anything like that?
Travarius Ward was full again yesterday, so he continues to take steps in the direction that he will be back in a Colts uniform, playing in a stadium that he played in for 4 years. His first 4 seasons in the NFL was with Kansas City, so good news on that front for Mooney Ward.
All right, also last night in the NFL, we started Week 12 action. The Houston Texans on Thursday night wearing all red uniforms and that bright metallic red helmet. Better than the Buffalo Bills, 23-19. And James, the takeaway there is that Texans defense just battered, bruised, beat up, and harassed Josh Allen all night long.
I think I tweeted that it was terrifying. I mean, the amount of times that they whacked Josh Allen and made him look like he was human, because we know that guy is very, very good, was alarming. And that's what they've hung their hat on as they've waded through the absence of C.J. Stroud.
You talked about Davis Mills a few minutes ago. For those just joining us, he's playing pretty good football for the Houston Texans, Kevin.
Well, I thought the end of the first half was a huge critical point in that game when Buffalo returned the kick for a touchdown there. It looked like they were going to have a little bit of momentum going at halftime, get the ball, start the third, and then Davis Mills orchestrated a really nice 2-minute drive. I thought the clock management was kind of odd, and yet they still got into the end zone there. So I don't want to act like Mills was, Mahomes or whoever in his 3 starts, but I thought he managed the operation really, really well. I mean, you go 3-0 with your backup quarterback, and the thought is C.J. Stroud will then be back for the Colts here coming up a week from Sunday. So Houston needed somebody to keep their season afloat, and they certainly are now at 6-5 here. And once again, the AFC South, starting in Week 13, next week, will have all 3 teams, or I should say 3 of the 4 teams, above 500. I'd be hard-pressed to find the last time that happened.
All I kept thinking, too, is this next 4-game stretch for the Colts just got a lot more interesting.
Yeah, go ahead and rattle that off, Mark.
At Chiefs, home against the Texans, at Jaguars, at Seattle. That is a daunting 4-game stretch all of a sudden.
Yeah, 3 of the top, I believe, 6 scoring defenses, Kansas City, Houston, and Seattle, and we know the history in Jacksonville.
And Seattle is no slouch despite last week.
Yeah,
so
they're pretty good.
Oh, boy.
Well, here's, like I said, it's where the rubber meets the road. Are you or are you not a legitimate playoff team who wants to go deep into the playoff season? We'll find out. Meanwhile, college football, both Purdue and Indiana have the week off, getting ready for the bucket game. That'll be a week from tonight. And we'll tell you more about that all next week. Also, semi-state time, Kevin, in high school football. 6A, Westfield plays at Fort Wayne Carroll. Warren Central will play at Brownsburg. In 5A, Concord at Merrillville, while Bloomington South will be at New Pal. Heritage Hills and Indianapolis Roncalli play in 4A. And in 3A, we're all keeping an eye on Miles McLaughlin and Knox playing at Fort Wayne. Lures, we'll talk about all the high school games coming up with Dominic Miranda in a few minutes. This is a tremendous straight. Warren Central Brownsburg could be a really good football game.
JT Whitaker against his former coach in that one there. Shout out to LaPel in 2A. You've got Milan at 7-4 in Class A. So
Shout out Milan. The history there.
Yeah, they beat number 2 ranked Providence last week to keep their season alive.
Give us a Hoosiers run.
They're going to run a picket fence play football version to win the state title.
By the way,
year.
shout out to the Bills running the old Boise State hook and ladder there on 4th and 27 last night to keep their hopes alive. Unfortunately, Mother Nature looks a little ugly tonight, so we've had some great Friday night weathers this year, but we'll be outdoors for one more Friday night. Unfortunately, it doesn't look great.
All right, let's talk basketball. The Pacers playing at Cleveland tonight, 7 p.m. tip, 6:30 airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Pretty much the same roster tonight as we saw on Wednesday night.
They signed a guy yesterday, Garrison Matthews. Signed. For those unfamiliar with him, he is a shooter, and I want to say, I was looking it up, 84.9% of his shot attempts in the NBA have been from 3. That sounds like JMV's dream right there. Right now, the Pacers can't shoot it, for those that haven't been following along. They're the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA, worst shooting team in the NBA. So they made a couple moves yesterday. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl now is with the team permanently off the 10 days. Monte Morris gone. And, weirdly, it's kind of shifted from you needed point guard help to now you need kind of wing help.
Yeah.
With the status of Aaron Nesmith, of course, out for a few more weeks. And I don't know if you call Obi Toppin a wing, but you just need a few more guys in that realm there. So massive underdog, and we'll see how the Pacers react to facing a team that they obviously broke their hearts last year in the second round.
I think it's worth noting real quick, too, for the Cavs, they have some players that are questionable. Jarrett Allen and Darius Garland, 2 of their all-star caliber players. So
and
they
has
are a bit
Garland
wounded.
Played the season?
I don't believe that he's played just yet, but he's listed as questionable with the left toe. He had some surgery on that. And then for Jarrett Allen, it's a ring finger issue.
If it's on a shooting hand, that's problematic, obviously.
It is on a shooting hand. So, again, they're a little wounded, so here's your opportunity.
All right, also college basketball last night. Indiana winner over Lindenwood, 73-53 down in Bloomington. And in the Bahamas, Purdue played an ugly, technical foul-filled game. Beat Memphis by a score of 80-71. Could never really get a rhythm going, but they came through in the last 5-6 minutes when they needed to. Had a big run there to get it done. So
Braden Smith really struggled to shoot the ball, 2 for 14 from the field, but in typical Braden Smith fashion, still affected the game with a game-high 11 assists.
All right. In the meantime, Fletcher Lawyer scored 20 points last night. C.J. Cox was the guy, though. 18 points, a couple of big rebounds, a steal. He had it going on, and Purdue survives Memphis last night. Later on tonight, Butler will host South Carolina. That's actually this afternoon, 2 o'clock on 92.7 Fuego. What else do we have going on? Purdue plays again tonight in the Bahamas. They'll take on 15th-ranked Texas Tech this evening. So there's college basketball update for you. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head to the break and get talking about semi-state tonight with Dominic Miranda?
Yeah, it's a couple first-team All-Americans battling tonight, and JT Toppin for Texas Tech. Miles Colvin actually hit a late 3 last night to give Wake Forest a lead in the final couple minutes, and Texas Tech kind of ended the game on a similar flurry there. So that'll be another marquee ranked neutral court matchup for Purdue, one that they've handled quite often here. So it's quite the environment in that Baja Mar ballroom.
Coming up in a moment, a chance for an Indiana high school kid to become maybe the best ever in high school football at his position. We'll talk about that and a couple of massive 6A matchups as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. talking about all morning long as we are getting down to it in high school, college, and NFL. Football. It's that time. It's really to late November, and that's when things really start to happen. It's time to talk a little bit about high school football, and every week, Dominic Miranda, Channel 13, Operation Football, brought to you by FAFSA. Filing the FAFSA helps your child access nearly $400 million in Indiana financial aid. I'll give you more details on all of it and who's making it happen coming up in a minute. But I got to get to Dominic Miranda because, Dom, there are some heavyweights playing tonight, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know you're going to be all over the place. How are you going to handle all these games? 12 of them on tap around the state.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, well, thanks for having me again. Friday Night Lights theme song. Couldn't have asked for a better intro there on a beautiful November day. Yeah, we have some great matchups here. There's no question about it. I'm eyeing, obviously, our game of the week, Warren Central at Brownsburg. These two haven't played this season. Warren Central, what a season for J.T. Whitaker's first year at the helm of the Warriors. They were up 17-0 against Center Grove last week. Trojans scored 21 unanswered. They still have the resolve to get that win, 24-21. Warren Central does, so a big-time win and a huge test for them. And Brownsburg at home is no joke. The other one I'm eyeing tonight, Bloomington South at New Pal. New Pal has been rolling everybody. We've talked about this. But the last 2 weeks in particular, they've been tested and have come out the other side. That's the marks of a championship team, right, in Class 5A. This season, Bloomington South, 11-1. Only real test this season was Center Grove at home. They ended up losing that game by a couple scores. So New Pal's of that ilk. We'll see if Bloomington South can keep it close. And New Pal, just stop them. It's going to be really difficult. But obviously, Westfield and Fort Wayne Carroll up north is really interesting. And then we're going to be back boots on ground from Miles McLaughlin, who's eyeing Derrick Henry's record. So great night of football ahead. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-olds punching their tickets to state a week before Thanksgiving. There's nothing like it.
Texas forever, Dominic Miranda with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Dom, did you see we actually got a coin flip in the state of Texas to see who went to the state playoffs a few weeks ago at a gas station?
I did not see that.
That's a real thing?
I saw that.
Real thing. Trust me.
That's a tiebreaker?
It was a three-way coin toss, wasn't it?
Three-way coin toss. If you're not at a gas station in Attica, Indiana next year to see if Lagodi or Pioneer is making the playoffs, then what are we really doing here?
Is Operation Football even worth watching if I'm not there? I don't think so.
Literally. There you are showing us the coin. It's zooming in on the heads and the tails. I have chills down my back.
I have so many questions. Like, who throws the coin? Do you get a redo? Does that have to be a certain height?
Mark, the coach was super emotional.
Yeah.
The coach was super emotional.
I got to Google this.
I'm usually like that when I leave a Buc-ee's or something like that. I get the tears flowing.
I think they need to have, like, Janice at the counter of the Wawa.
That's
the
like
coin,
me when they
you?
have the big Reese's, the jumbo Reese's. I'm like, oh, yes, the peanut butter M&Ms, I can share size, and I can keep them all to myself. This is electric here. Okay, more on Miles McLaughlin tonight. I don't know much about Fort Wayne Bishop Luers. I know that Jalen Smith played football there a long time ago. Their record is not great. I would assume, though, they play some pretty good competition in Fort Wayne. Their record, again, is like 8-5 or something like that. I am curious, tonight, Knox and Miles McLaughlin, they kind of survived in the regional round 28-21. Could, they be up for a little bit more of a test here? Because I want the storyline next week, Dom. I want him to get like 240 tonight and have to have whatever, I guess a mediocre game for him to break the record next week at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody wants, but you're absolutely right. Angola was a step up by Knox's standards, and they did struggle. But guess who had the game-stealing interception? That would be Miles McLaughlin. That is
of
correct.
Course.
He does it all.
Of course.
He is quite literally.
He drove the bus, didn't he? He drove the bus. He played he was the band at the halftime show. He did it all.
It's right out of the Jack Kaiser playbook, truly. It's impressive stuff that he's doing. And last week we were there when he set the national single-season records for both touchdowns and yards in a season. So I don't think it's a stretch to say it's the best single season ever in high school football, right? When you're setting national records for both those categories, super impressive. But, yeah, Fort Wayne Luers, obviously Fort Wayne's no joke. Carroll's playing for a state title berth tonight. Luers is playing for a state title berth tonight. I think Dwenger might be as well. Obviously, they play all those schools, and they've rattled off 4 straight here ahead of the semi-state tonight. But Miles McLaughlin, man, he's no joke. I mean, I think anyone who wants to say, oh, well, it's a 3A schedule in northern Indiana, like, that's fine. I don't really care if you're playing used car salesman and you're putting up these numbers. Unbelievable out of him. And what a season, what a career he's had. I want to say he's 350, 360 some away from Derrick Henry. Don't quote me on that. I think it's in that range. But that's a mediocre day at the office for him. However, I think it will be a little more difficult tonight against Lewis. He did have 52 carries last week. That makes my joints hurt just hearing that. But unbelievable out of him, and really excited to get a camera up there again to see him play.
Dom, we won't talk to you next Friday. We won't have a show Friday of Thanksgiving. Hear me out on this. Next Thursday night, and not to put too much on the mini bye week plate of Derrick Henry, but next Thursday night, Ravens are on Thanksgiving night. So they don't play next weekend. Is the 3A state final Friday or Saturday? I forget if we do odds on one day or odds on Saturday. Do you know?
I do not remember. I don't know if they switch year over year either.
So it's either Friday or Saturday. We know that. We got to get Derrick Henry inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. We got to hand him the ball to Miles McLaughlin after the game-winning touchdown. Can you make that happen? Do you have enough pull over there at WTHR? Can Calabro send a helicopter to Baltimore if he's still even living here? He's probably somewhere in some remote village down there in Florida.
He's in the mountains with a beard. Don't even recognize him. I can get a hold of him. He has the pull. But I think why not? Why not reach out to Derrick Henry and say, hey, man, come on down. Watch this kid break your record.
Sure.
Knox has to win tonight, or else what are we doing for the storybook ending?
Oh, but part of me is like, boy, the other team has to love that opportunity to be like, you know what? It ends here, buddy.
You imagine Miles McLaughlin's picture on every locker in Fort Wayne Bishop Lures all week?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know the parents have been talking up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the coach, and I always said this, and I hope they're not giving this speech.
Dolls.
I hope the coach not giving this speech. Whenever my coach gave his speech in high school, we got kicked. The old... they lace their shoes up just like us, but we ain't built like them. So we got to see how that shakes out.
Take one look at the warm-up lines.
I know.
And that'll tell you what's happening.
And just to verify for you there, Dom, he is 364 yards away, I believe, from passing Derrick Henry. How much pressure do you think is on that, yard marker guy to figure out, okay, is that the record? Is it not? I don't want to be in that position tonight. But on a more serious note, Dom, looking at Brownsburg and what they're doing has been historic.
Yes.
Is there a way for Warren Central to upset them? And I'm not saying that as a joke, but Brownsburg's been a buzzsaw, and I don't want to take for granted what we're seeing from, those guys.
I don't think it's a stretch to say. I think what Warren Central has to do is play complete mistake-free football, because I'm not so sure they can stop Brownsburg. I don't think it's that's their game. That's Westfield's type of game. We saw Westfield do that to Carmel, a similar offensive powerhouse as Brownsburg a couple weeks back in the sectional title game. But this has been a postseason of avenging losses, especially for 6A schools, like Westfield doing it to Carmel, Warren Central doing it to Center Grove, Lawrence Central did it to Lawrence North. Anything can happen. Now, advantage Brownsburg being at home. It is a serious home field advantage when it comes to Brownsburg. There's no question about it. Pandering? Maybe. But, I'm just speaking the truth, okay? What they have to do, Warren Central, they can't make mistakes. They can't turn the ball over, and they're going to have to go stride for stride offensively with Brownsburg. If they do beat Brownsburg, it's going to be like a 42-35, 42-40 type game. So I think they can do it. I would be surprised, though. Brownsburg's eyeing that back-to-back state title. They want that perfect season, too. A lot of really good stuff trending in the Bulldogs' way, no doubt.
Dom, have fun. I know you always do. Can't wait to talk to you again the next time we meet up. But it's been a blast having you for Operation Football this year, and I can't wait already to do it again next year. But we got some business to take care of before then.
That's right. Hey, thanks, guys. Seriously, this has been a great season. I've enjoyed every single Friday. You guys are the best. Love talking ball with you guys, and have a happy Thanksgiving, all right?
Thanks,
Clear
buddy.
eyes, full heart, brother.
There you go.
Can't lose. Go Irish.
You're undefeated in my eyes.
I love me some Dominic Miranda.
Yes.
Dominic and Operation Football have been brought to you by LearnMoreIndiana.org all season long. Filing the FAFSA helps your child access nearly $400 million in Indiana financial aid, including the 21st Century Scholarship. It also unlocks federal grants and scholarships for college or career training. Visit studentaid.gov or learnmoreindiana.org/FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A, to get started. Don't wait. Secure your child's future today. I want to thank them for being a part of Operation Football all season long. Coming up in a moment, Daniel Jones on the injured list. The Kansas City Chiefs are waiting. We'll talk about it next on 93.5
Don't
and
we have
107.5.
10 more minutes?
We got 10
do.
minutes left.
I get the wrong hour on Friday. I get so excited that I'm ready for the wrong hour to go.
Odd
Thank you.
classes.
Again, the guy that designed the clock, I'm the one that screws that up, so thank you.
Odd classes Friday. Thank you, Scott Johnson.
Yep.
Several listeners reached out here. So if I have my Friday, excuse me, have my
3
Friday
p.m. Friday next week.
schedule right, we will get the potential Knox 3A game. Yes, 3 o'clock, approximately 3, depending on that first game, Friday afternoon. And then we'll get the bucket game then Friday night. So reminder of everybody out there, Indiana-Purdue is a Friday night game. Mark Dykton won't care one bit about 3A football state championship because he's got his Bears and Eagles as the Amazon Friday game.
That's a sexy one right
next
there.
afternoon.
Get some Black Friday shopping done, and then in the middle of the afternoon, like, oh, look what we have here.
I like it.
Can I just throw this out there? A.J. Brown is a comedian to me at this point. Every media availability he does is just like drama. It is so Philly. Everything. It's, hey, how are you doing this season? Are you the same player? He was like, well, I guess Saquon ain't the same player either. I'm like, ooh, I'll get some headlines going. And so they asked him about his relationship with Jalen Hurts. He asked me about Dallas. It's like, oh, baby, cooking with gas over there. So, over here in old calm Colts land, I'm liking how the team is looking without having to do all the other extra stuff.
Yeah, we don't really have anybody that, wants to grab headlines over there, do we, all the time?
Yeah, I mean, you got a linebacker,
I'll go
Zaire
Zaire.
Franklin, that
Yeah.
I believe.
But he's nowhere near the A.J. Brown
What did he call
category, is
Juju
he?
Smith-Schuster a few weeks back?
Well, he basically just said he needs his what beat.
But he's not talking about his own team.
I think you can say ass, right,
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah.
We're good with that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he said Juju Smith-Schuster needs his ass beat, and now they play each other coming up on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
That's that could be a little extracurricular activity or two after a play.
Oh, I'm definitely having the binoculars out for either the hit from Zaire or the crackback block from Juju.
James, we did see Anthony Richardson yesterday. It's the first time I've seen him since the injury occurred.
Same.
In the locker room. Again, remains on injured reserve. I would say it's fair to say his return to practice is by no means imminent. So we should probably just toss that in there among this Daniel Jones calf injury situation. If for some reason, whatever, Daniel Jones woke up today or the calf is far worse than I think anybody is expecting it to be, Anthony Richardson would not be on the field Sunday.
No, it would be Riley Leonard. He remains QB2. Anthony Richardson remains on IR. It was good to see him, though. Got to dap him up, ask him how he was doing a little bit, said he's doing good. And he was typical jovial Anthony Richardson, which is a good sign for just his spirits because he's been through a lot this year, obviously.
No eye patch for those curious. There's definitely, you can see bruising, scarring, however you want to describe it, around the eye there. So he was in the locker room yesterday, but he is yet to return to practice. And, the question of will he put on a Colts uniform again this season, unfortunately, I feel like is a fair one to ask.
I think one of the things that's going to be most fun to watch for on Sunday, though, is now that they've had a week with Sauce Gardner, and I know that they didn't practice a lot last week, but he's had time to study up and figure out exactly where he fits in this new scheme and all those kinds of things. Going up against Patrick Mahomes on the road, James, this is a great chance to test your new and improved secondary right now, especially now that Rashee Rice is back and Travis Kelce has been playing very well lately. And Andy Reid already said, I think, didn't he, Kevin, that he's going to try to focus on the run a little bit more, or at least he said maybe we haven't emphasized that enough, something along those lines. This is going to be a test, and I'm looking to see what this secondary can provide in this test.
This is what you trace for Sauce Gardner for. This opportunity, these matchups, and I do think that he played pretty well out there against the Falcons in Berlin, and I think with the extra time off, the bye week, getting acclimated to the city, all the above will help him be even more ready for this opportunity that lies ahead on Sunday. So, This will be a huge matchup. I'm very curious to see how the Chiefs approach trying to slow down Jonathan Taylor. Only one team's done it all year, and that was the Steelers. So can you, I guess similar to the Miles McLaughlin conversation, can you keep JT human to a degree? Like if you give up, I don't know, 87 yards versus 180, will that be the difference in the game?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think anytime you play the Chiefs, inevitably you discuss Mahomes endlessly.
Yes.
Understandably. Given the Colts' offensive situation here in the last couple of games, the Daniel Jones conversation is a little bit more front and center. But I was, making my way through the fog this morning downtown, and I thought to myself, man, I and we have barely mentioned Jonathan Taylor this week. And James just laid it out. Would the Chiefs sign up for 87 yards right now? Hell yeah, they would. Oh my God. Andy Reid would show up to, Arrowhead naked on Sunday if you could give him 87 yards for number 28 there. So, that is, I think, a really good point. And Kansas City has struggled with play action. And, obviously, if the Colts could get that going. And, Taylor, I'm trying to think, he still had a pretty good game outside of the obviously historic run that he had late in that Germany game. And that's been vintage Taylor all year. Just when you think maybe he's had a quiet, and I say that in quotes, 2.5, 3.5 quarters, boom, he can rip that off right when you think you have him bottled up there. So that is something obviously significantly in the Colts' favor.
Here's a stat for you. So he is on pace right now for 2,378 scrimmage yards and 29 scrimmage touchdowns. If he keeps that pace, that will be more scrimmage yards in each of the last 4 non-QB MVP winners since 2000. This is according to NFL Pro. So that will be more than Adrian Peterson in 2012, more than LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006, more than Sean Alexander in 2005, and more than Marshall Faulk as well back in the day. So, again, can he keep that pace? Because to me, I think it's scrimmage yards and total touchdowns. There's only been one man ever to go over 30 scrimmage touchdowns in a season, and he won MVP. That was LaDainian Tomlinson. So, to me, the magic number is 30 for JT. No pressure. Obviously he wants to win, and that's the big picture. But I think if you get to 30 touchdowns as a running back, I got to be like, look, man, you have to be brilliant as a quarterback to not give it to that dude. But I think that's the magic number.
Well, some magic numbers for the Chiefs. They are 8th against the rush in terms of yardage allowed, but they are in the second, third, and towards the back of the second, third for touchdowns allowed to running back. So make of that what you will. They have had some stingy moments at times, but you can punch it into the end zone against them.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the fact that we're talking about this game like it's a playoff game just gets me excited because that's what it feels like. It feels like for the Chiefs, you're trying to, in a way, play for everything. You lose this game, it's going to be hard to rally, and who knows, they might lose this game, run off the last whatever many games of the year and get into the playoffs anyway. But I do think this will really put them on edge. And then for the Colts, you get to kind of put your stamp on the season before you get to that part where you really got to start winning some games. And obviously that's the playoffs.
Yeah, Kansas City on Sunday, week after that at home against a really tough defense for the Texans, and then another division game after that on the road against Jacksonville. So again, this is why you build up that record, and win as many games as you can in the first part of the year, because we all knew that this was going to be the toughest part of the schedule, and that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, the final 7 games for the Colts, the worst team they'll play in record is the team on Sunday.
Kansas City.
Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're washed.
The worst team in record they will play. Every other team they play the rest of the year. 2 against the Texans, 2 against the Jags, at Seattle, home to San Francisco. All of those teams are above 500. So, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Have the Colts answered all the questions? I think at that point it was very fair to say they've answered all the questions presented to themselves, and honestly answered them very emphatically with how they played leading into that Pittsburgh game. But it was also fair to say at that point, new questions, you could say more difficult questions, would be on the horizon. And that's where we're at right now.
And something I was interested to find out over the last couple of days, too. Lou Anarumo was 3-0 early against the Chiefs, but I think he's lost the last 3 games they played against the Chiefs as a defensive coordinator. Has he not? I think that's the case.
I'm going to have to go back and look.
Yeah, the the interesting thing that I think I found with the Anarumo is, definitely a lot of sacks on Mahomes. Again, a little bit more of a natural pass rush, dropping a lot of guys into coverage, given the Colts personnel right now. I said on yesterday's show, the DB group the Colts will run out there on Sunday, in my opinion, will be the best defensive back group they've run out in a game in franchise history. I don't think that's hyperbole. I don't think that's prisoner of the moment. So given that, you would think, hey, just blitz. Don't you trust all those guys to play on islands and play in man
That's
coverage?
why you get Sauce Gardner, right?
James brought up the man coverage stats for Mahomes versus the zone stats for Mahomes against man. He's much worse than he is against zone. So, but one thing to point out about those Lou numbers as well, in the 3 wins Cincinnati had over Kansas City, Kansas City still scored 24, 24, and 31. So it's not like, you were pitching, 13, 17, 20-point games against them. Granted, this Kansas City offense maybe isn't the same. I thought I did hear Kelsey say earlier in the week he thinks the 2025 Chiefs would beat the 2024 Chiefs, which is kind of interesting.
Well, they're 5-5. Colts are sitting there at 8-2, and they can put a big. I don't know if they can put the dagger in Kansas City, but they can set the stage for it, and it's going to come your way Sunday afternoon at 1 right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Coming up next, Greg Rake Straw, who will be a part of that broadcast, joins us to talk about that. Also, where we're at for college basketball and, of course, high school football tonight. All things Indiana next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. I think I got it right, Mark. Good morning. I don't know what it looks like outside right now, but I know early this morning the fog was dense and thick, and hopefully people are getting through it today, and it's starting to burn off a little bit. We'll talk more about that as the morning goes along, but that also means it's November, and it's a little chilly in the air, and there's probably a chance for some precipitation tonight when the high school football games in semi-state get rolling in, so we got to get more information on all that by calling our good friend Greg Rake Straw here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Happy Friday, Greg. It's football weather. What can we say? This is what you want. This is what you expect.
I can confirm to you that it is still foggy outside, and I am pretty dense and thick. So all of these things are still true as of 8 a.m.
Never misses. He never misses.
A lot of ways you go with that one. Greg Rake Straw tonight. It is semi-state action around the state of Indiana. Rake, I'm going to pin you down for 1A, 2A, 3A. Give me the best game in those classes for tonight.
Well, you're asking me to pick one of two, so it's not exactly probably an overly difficult decision. I think all the games are great just because you've only got 11 of them playing tonight, and you've got one tomorrow. So Cascade Gibson Southern is the one game that is going to be a Saturday night game in terms of the drive for Gibson Southern, because apparently they need a time machine to get to Central Indiana. The 1A South game in terms of Milan and South Putnam, these are two teams that we don't talk about making state finals. South Putnam's kind of been knocking on the door for the last several years. This is their opportunity. Probably thought they would get a rematch with Providence, and Milan went to Providence and upset them last week 22-7. As far as 2A is concerned, Brownstown Central and LaPel are both undefeated. LaPel is in the southern half of the bracket in terms of high school football. What I said about South Putnam kind of goes double or triple for Brownstown Central. Reed May has been coaching there a long time. His winning percentage is north of 800 and probably higher than that. For years, they have been the smallest, if not one of the smallest schools in a primarily 3A league, and they win it most years, but they've not made that trip to Lucas Oil, so this might be their best opportunity. But LaPel has a fantastic quarterback. That's not going to be an easy win for Brownstown Central. And in terms of 3A, the only game playing tonight would be Knox and Lures, and so this is the game to see if Miles McLaughlin's going to get that national record. Can Knox make the state championship game? This is probably not a vintage Lures team, but this is not exactly atypical for Lures. They have about a 500 record during the season, playing a 4A, 5A, 6A schedule, and then make a run in the postseason. And this is probably the best defense that, Knox has run into, so far this year. So those are the games that from the small school standpoint would have my attention.
Rake, where will you be tonight?
I will be at Warren Central in Brownsburg. So I'm lucky that I kind of get the 6A South semi-state is usually the game that I get to see, knowing I'll have the 5A and 6A state finals next weekend. Obviously, Warren landed the upset on Center Grove last week. And, I had somebody, and I forget who I was talking with earlier this week, that said, Warren and Brownsburg should be a blowout. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Brownsburg is really good. Brownsburg is solid. But frankly, if you can beat Center Grove at Center Grove, you can beat Brownsburg at Brownsburg too. And Keon Thomas was absolutely dynamite last week for Warren Central, accounting for over 300 yards of offense. And the other thing that Warren Central has is they have the ability to get to the passer, at least they did last week against Center Grove, by rushing 3. When one of those guys is going to Alabama, another one is a Big Ten level recruit. Calvin McDonald kind of rounds out that pass rushing trio for Warren Central. Warren absolutely has a chance tonight to win at Brownsburg.
It's crazy, Rake. I actually went to the season opener, Warren Central and Center Grove, and that was when Warren Central lost 24-6. And so to see them recover from that early season loss and kind of get it together when it matters the most was pretty remarkable. And then to kind of flip it to the Brownsburg side, they haven't dropped a game in 2 years. So if they're able to get to the state final and finish this off, what are we looking at as far as being considered one of the best runs over a couple of years in state history?
Well, you've got to get to where you win 3 or 4 in a row before you're kind of in that consideration. Even at the 6A level, I want to say Center Grove did it 3 years running. I think 20 through 22.
They didn't drop a game?
Was all CG. In terms of dropping a game, maybe, but in terms of winning a state championship, but again, the peak of the top of the food chain in the 5A era would be Warren Central mid-2000s. Warren Central 2003 through 2006. That is, and again, you can have the debate in terms of one of those Center Grove championship teams versus, say, 2005. Warren Central, I'm sure a Ben Davis championship team would be in that mix. They were the national champs, back in 1991, to kind of give you an idea as to how good that team was for Dick Dullahan. So there have been some great individual teams. There have been some great runs. What I will say about Brownsburg is this. Because they have been so good for so long under John Hart, they had stumbled in postseason play until last year. And last year was the year where they kept finding a way to come back in these games, where they were down against Ben Davis in the sectional final and won it. And they were down in the regional game against Lawrence North and won it. And went to Center Grove and won it. And then beat Westfield for a second time in the state championship game. They haven't had those moments this year. In other words, I think a lot of us felt once they got one, that was going to kind of open the floodgates for Brownsburg, and potentially that's what we have happening over the next couple of weeks.
Rake, do you think at this time of year, this is when all the debates happen of, my team from this era, would it beat your team from this era or whatever? Because I feel like that is, in these parts, that has to be one of the Thanksgiving week conversations and debates is, back in 1987, my undefeated team was better than whatever you guys are putting out in 2002 or something like that.
That happens at every dinner table in every state of the union. But yes, it happens around here too. And again, the styles of the 80s versus the styles of now, I'm not sure that's comparable. Maybe you go back 20 years.
I said, don't tell Knox that.
We're starting to throw the football a little bit more, but at the same time, like Warren Central is so good, they didn't have to throw the football. That was as the wing T was becoming prominent. That Center Grove started, and then Warren took it and ran with it too. And so they were so good, they'd have to throw the football. It's going to run right over you, and it frankly didn't matter. So absolutely, those conversations are taking place. And unfortunately, I'm not sure I've got a great answer for you.
Rake Straw joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Another local team I want you to talk about real quick. Heritage Hills playing at Indianapolis Roncalli. Roncalli, they've had a terrific season so far. Do they have what it takes to finish this job?
So Roncalli's resume keeps looking better by the week. Roncalli avenged a 22-point loss to Chittard from back in week number 3. And Roncalli's a program you think is always going to be good, but probably thought the stopping point for them was whenever they would see Chittard. And then they beat them by 20 in the sectional championship game. Heritage Hills, much like New Pal, is trying to win back-to-back state championships, but is trying to do it playing a class up. And so many people look at the success factor and go, well, that's the penalty for parochial schools. Well, we have a chance that three schools, one of them, three schools that are all public, could win a state championship or play for a state championship playing a class up. Adams Central in 2A, Heritage Hills in 4A, New Pal in 5A, which shows you the mettle of those football programs. So Roncalli is solid. The best player in that game is playing for Heritage Hills. His name is Jet Goldsberry. He's heading to play for Ole Miss. Obviously, if Lane Kiffin bounces elsewhere, maybe he's playing someplace else next year. His dad, John, played at Purdue, played with the Buffalo Bills. And Heritage Hills has had a habit of producing NFL players. Obviously, Jay Cutler and Ken Dilger immediately come to mind. So I think that game on the south side is an absolute toss-up tonight and should be a classic.
Yeah, and I'll add, too, Tyler Ruxer for Heritage Hills going to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, correct.
I'd be hard-pressed, Rake, to find too many times a non-6A school, 5A school has sent 2 kids to the SEC in the same senior class. The great Rake Straw with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Rake, I know we do start, college, or I should say high school basketball. For some reason, I feel like, I could be wrong, like Pike North Central, I felt like was always kind of the opener coming up next week. Is Luke Erdl the notable favorite for Mr. Basketball?
He is the easy favorite for Mr. Basketball. Dikembe Shaw probably will get some consideration out of the North. Again, this is not as deep of a senior class as we had a year ago. But again, I think Luke Erdl is the easy favorite for Indiana Mr. Basketball. Kai McGrew might get some mention in there as well, probably a top 3 or top 4 player, obviously making the move from LN now to Fishers, but it should be Luke Ertl's award.
Obviously, we got the Colts coming up on Sunday. I know you'll be a part of that broadcast. A little bit of a game at Kansas City. Are the Colts prepared and ready to topple this Kansas City Chiefs team and maybe start to knock them out of the playoffs altogether?
Well, that's kind of the task they have at hand, right? And to be honest, the last 2 times they've played, the Colts have been nowhere near as good as this team, and they beat the Chiefs both times in 2019 and in 2022. The Colts' closing schedule just keeps getting tougher, doesn't it? Because those teams keep winning games, like last night with the Texans finding a way to beat the Buffalo Bills without C.J. Stroud. So this starts what appears to be a 7-game gauntlet, and I think there's little doubt the Colts have been one of the best teams in the National Football League this season. They're going to be tested early and often for the next 7 weekends, and it starts on Sunday.
Always good to talk to you, buddy. Can't wait to see you again this weekend, and keep your thing. You do it as well as anybody, and we just can't wait to hear what you do next.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
There he is, Greg Rake Straw, joining us on the Payless Liquors Hotline. You can start your Saturdays every Saturday by just, if there's not enough going on for him, Soccer Saturday, every Saturday at 9.
The man is a machine. And I will say, adding to the Luke Ertl conversation a little bit, I know it's football season, just getting ready for basketball, though. When I saw him and Braylon Mullins play each other in the sectional final in Muncie Central last year, Kevin, that was probably the best high school basketball game I've ever seen in my life. Probably one of the best games, period. I think it was double overtime, and Luke and Braylon were going just body shot for body shot, packed gym. I remember getting there, Kevin. I got there maybe 5 minutes before tip-off. It was a very spontaneous drive and decision. I walk in, the place is packed, and I'm like, boy, I want to make sure I can see, where am I going to sit? I see Kyle Nedenrep, Indy Star's finest, sitting on the scorer's table, seat open next to him. And I said, hey.
You're like Helga Pataki with Hey Arnold with how close you get to Kyle Nedenrep.
I walked up to him and said, hey, and by that time I had seen him at, 10 games that year. I said, anybody sitting here? He was like, no. So I sat front row.
He's calling security over.
Yeah, and I did try to keep a couple stats for him, but got caught up in the game. He asked me at one point, what you got Braylon Mullins for? And I said, brother, I'm lost. So Kyle, all that to say, next time I see you for a big game, I will have a notepad for you when you save me a seat. But no, it was great. That was a great environment, and that's what makes me love high school sports. I know tonight, despite the weather, these are some big games, and the kids, again, this is your entire life tonight, right? You'll live beyond this, and you'll have other accomplishments, but when you're 16, 17, 18, this feels like it's everything, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and the dream to play inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. I think
I also think that's one of the best things. Because in Illinois, I think they play at my alma mater, like University of Illinois. I know they played a couple state championships, maybe at Northern Illinois. That's still cool, but playing in an NFL stadium, nothing beats that.
I was going to say, I don't want to take that for granted because I know it's not that way across the other 50 states, of course. One thing also I wanted to note about Braylon Mullins, Luke Ertl, the whole Purdue thing. Looking back last night on the Boilermakers, I think my favorite Purdue player on this team this year is C.J. Cox. I've said this before about Cox. He is the Andrew Nemhard of that Purdue team. He just makes so many of those plays that maybe don't pop up on the old stat sheet and, all Big Ten first team and wouldn't award this and wouldn't award that. But on a night when Braden Smith, struggles shooting the basketball, on a night Trey Kaufman-Wren's emotions got the best of him and he gets benched to start the second half. Obviously Fletcher Lawyer stepped up and hit some big shots, but I thought C.J. Cox was so key. And again, in a variety of ways. It's a corner three. It's an offensive rebound. It's being a second ball handler to Braden Smith. It's picking up guys full court. Just what a great find by Purdue. And that recruiting story is very, very unheralded recruit and started as a freshman and has kept that starting job even though they've, brought in some other guys. So I thought C.J. Cox was really critical last night on a night where Purdue certainly didn't have their best stuff, but neutral floor against a team that I think some people view as an NCAA tournament team. That's going to happen, and can you get it done? And Purdue was able to pull away late. Now they'll get Texas Tech coming up late tonight to brew the coffee, Boiler Nation. Approximately a 9:30 tip, Boilers and the Texas Tech Raiders.
You and Nelly going to be up watching that thing?
We probably will be.
Yeah.
I say that with a tad bit of reluctance. By the way, shout out to Mike Davis. Totally forgot Mike Davis was on Penny Hardaway's staff. Did you guys like Penny going shorts?
Well, he's in the Bahamas.
Yeah, it's fine.
It fits there.
I mean, he looked like he was getting ready to suit up.
Yeah, he could play. He was a special player. But
Maddie Bowen did a, why do I know that guy?
Did she?
I'm like, well, I mean, at one point, I mean, I'm sure your brothers probably, had a Penny, whatever, jersey or poster or card or something.
Remember Lil Penny?
And sure.
It was great by the pool.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and, India, did you see any of the Indiana game at all last night? Did you check it out?
Yeah, flipped over. Yeah, they've kind of played with their food this week. Lindenwood, again, stinks. At one point in the second half, it was like a 5-point game, and Lindenwood was 0 for 10 from 3. Like, sometimes you get the fluky mid-major that, like, oh my gosh, it's a 6-point game, and they've hit like 12 threes.
Yeah.
Like, Lindenwood wasn't doing that at all. So, I don't know. For Darren DeVries, you might look at it and say, all right, maybe some good coaching points, but, now I think it starts a stretch of Indiana where it's like 5 of their next 6 against power teams.
Yeah, we find out.
So, and again, Marquette, has dropped a couple games since that. I still think putting up 100 on a neutral floor against Shaka is thoroughly impressive.
Yeah. I think that Kansas State game, though, next week on Tuesday will be
you got Kansas State in your own building. Obviously, you got Louisville and Kentucky on those back-to-back Saturdays in December. But, yeah, this is a week where, I don't know, maybe the stay at Kilroy's was a little bit longer for some of those guys.
I'm kind of getting the feel for this Indiana team that I think they're going to be able to score. I think they shoot pretty well, which is something Indiana teams have not done for a while. But I also worry about depth past their top 6 guys or so. And we'll find out a lot more, as you said, over the next, half dozen games or so. But right now, my biggest concern for them would be depth. I know they can shoot the ball well. And look, who knows? These are crazy games. They haven't exactly rebounded the heck out of the basketball either against the Lindenwoods and the incarnate words of the world. So we'll see. Good mix. I'd say mixed report card on them so far, James.
Certainly, but at the same time, you got the win. It is early in the Darren DeVries era, and the real tests are coming. But right now, I feel pretty optimistic about the direction, at least where they're trying to go. And like I said, I trust any coach whose son can actually hoop.
A big weekend for Butler. I'll throw that in there. Again, they got South Carolina today at the Greenbrier this afternoon, and then Virginia on Sunday. Really important for Butler to get some away from home power wins for a resume that they obviously want an NCAA tournament berth, need an NCAA tournament berth. So we had Thad Matta on yesterday. Really important for Butler to get it done. They're a slight favorite today over South Carolina.
All right, let's check it down. Mark, tell everybody what is exactly going on today, tomorrow, and this weekend. Start with the Colts in the NFL. They will play on the road at Kansas City. Arrowhead Stadium, Sunday at 1 p.m. James, I believe you will be there. When you get there is still a matter of discussion, correct?
Yeah, I got some weird flight stuff going on, you all, but I will be there either when I want to be there or very, very, very early. So not like Berlin when I was delayed, but boy, have I been expedited.
James was caught off guard this morning when at about 6:45 he got a notification going, hey, it's time for you to check in for tomorrow's flight.
I was driving in. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Anyway, Colts will be there. There'll be a 1 o'clock kick, 10 a.m. Start time here with the broadcast on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Quarterback Daniel Jones, what's going on there, Kevin Bowen?
Yeah, we probably should get more into it on the other side, but a calf injury for Daniel Jones, a new injury, a new name on the injury report, first time all year. We've seen the Colts starting quarterback on it, so his status for today will be monitored, I would think, very, very closely. So what would it look like if for some reason he has a setback? What would that look like? What would a limited Jones look like? I think that's all stuff we should get into now.
All right, and in the secondary, Mooney Ward. Is he going to play football on Sunday?
I believe so. He is trending in the right direction. He's been a full participant in both practices this week. Another full practice today would be a great indicator of his availability. And when talking to Colts defensive backs coach Jerome Henderson, he said their hope is for him to be available against the Chiefs, his former team with whom he won the Super Bowl with a few years ago.
All right, let's check some basketball. College hoops last night. Number 1, Purdue, a winner over Memphis, 80-71. We were just talking about that one a moment ago. Fletcher Lawyer led the team with 20 points, but C.J. Cox, Kevin Bowen, go back to him, 18 points. And you were talking about the rebounds, the assists. He even had a key steal down the stretch when for a moment there, it looked like Memphis was going to try and get back, and I think they took a brief lead before Purdue pulled away down the stretch. He was just everywhere doing all the things all the time last night.
Yeah, that's what he does. Again, he's the Andrew Nemhard of the Purdue Boilermakers. I think he's a very key ingredient to whatever run this is going to look like for Purdue. Fletcher Lawyer, really good last night as well, stretching the floor. So it's a big matchup tonight with Texas Tech. Again, it's a late one. JT Toppin, for those unfamiliar with Texas Tech, is a first-team All-American, a big dude. So him and Trey Kaufman-Renn staying out of foul trouble. How does Purdue handle Oscar Clough, Daniel Jacobson? That will be key tonight as Texas Tech outlasted Wake Forest last night.
Yeah, that's tonight. Purdue taking on Texas Tech in the Baha Mar championship game at Nassau. That will start at 9:30. Also last night, Indiana, a winner at home over Lindenwood, 73-53. Tucker DeVries had 25 points. Lamar Wilkerson had 10 points. And Sam Alexis had 10 rebounds in that game last night to go along with 8 points. I thought he might have been, clearly DeVries was shooting the heck out of the basketball, but I thought Alexis might have been one of their best players last night.
Yeah, he's an important piece off the bench. I would agree. I think there'll be some nights where they just kind of ride him as the big.
All right, Butler plays later on this afternoon, 2 o'clock start time against South Carolina at the Greenbrier. That'll be in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. South Carolina's undefeated right now at 4-0. It'll be a fun game. We talked about that with Thad Matta yesterday. 2 p.m. start. That'll be over on 92.7 FM Fuego, for those of you who want to listen to the broadcast there. NBA last night, the Pacers had the night off as they get ready to take on Cleveland tonight. 7 p.m. tip, 6:30 airtime there. Mostly the same roster going to be available for this game tonight, Kevin, when it tips off for the Pacers?
Yeah, they did make a move yesterday. Garrison Matthews, for those unfamiliar with his career, he has been a shooter. 3-point specialist. They added him on one of those 10-day hardships, so they continue to have enough injuries to where they can add these guys on a 10-day contract. They also signed Jeremiah Robinson Earl for the rest of the year in waiving Monty Morris. So I think more of the injuries now are a little bit more wing-related than point guard-related. We'll see about the matchup with Donovan Mitchell. I assume if Ben Shepherd starts again, that would be his assignment. Darius Garland is questionable with a toe injury. He has missed, I think, a lot of time, if not all the time, for Cleveland this year. And Jared Allen also questionable, but the Pacers are a massive underdog, 13.5-point underdog in this one.
One NBA note from last night, Tyrese Maxey, a career-high 54, as the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Milwaukee Bucks 123-114. And a guy named Paul George also had 21 points in that basketball game, James. He's still doing his thing around the league.
Oh, yeah, he's still very good. And just to clear this up, we had talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, Darius Garland has played in 3 games this year for the Cavs, but again, still dealing with the effects of that toe. Shout out to the Gary, Indiana native.
All right, one NFL game last night as Week 12 kicks off in Houston. The Texans over the Buffalo Bills 23-19, and I believe somewhere in the middle of the night, Josh Allen woke up, sat up upright in his bed, and was waiting to get hit from the blind side last night. I mean, he was battered last night.
Boy, he never looked comfortable, and the score wouldn't have been that close if they didn't have a return touchdown. So Houston really shut off the Bills' water when it comes to what we were used to seeing from Josh Allen and company. Even though they picked up that 4th and 27, I thought they were going to squeeze it out at the end, but Houston held on, and they've won 3 straight, right, with Davis Mills under center.
Yeah, you talk about a nightmare evening for Josh Allen. He threw 2 interceptions, was sacked 8 times, and probably they got to him another 6 or 7 times too, Kevin. It was a rough night, man.
He was kind of like a little injured or not, and so, yeah.
I've never really seen him like that. When he got hit from behind, Will Anderson Jr. hit him early in that game, and he kind of was down. I mean, he was down for, I would say, a minute or so, and then, in typical Allen fashion, he never misses any time after that. But, yeah, we've talked about it, Houston's defensive end duo, Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, that's the best, in my opinion, defensive end pairing in the NFL, and given the Colts' issues, specifically with blocking guys off the edge in recent weeks, that game next Sunday with C.J. Stroud likely in the lineup, that's a big one. I mean, Houston's just kind of lurking. I'm still not totally sold on them. I think it's Nico Collins and a bunch of randoms on offense, and I don't trust their offensive line. But, man, that defense.
No joke.
I mean, Kaylee Hartung had the great stat last night when they went to her on the sideline. There's never been a playoff team. There's never been a team ranked 1 in scoring defense and yard defense that's missed the playoffs. Right now, Houston is ranked 1 in both those categories, and they are out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and what's interesting for the Colts now, you want to talk about, yes, the schedule is tough, but it's also an opportunity, Kevin, because if you could win in Kansas City and then come back at home and beat the Texans, you do great damage to both teams and their ability to make the postseason.
Oh, for sure.
So
For sure.
they've got, I look at it as an opportunity, James. It's going to be tough, but it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk more about the Colts and what they have going on next as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning and welcome into a Friday here on the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd, Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. And, of course, it's a big game, to say the least, for the AFC and the Colts in general. Are they as good as their record would suggest? At 8-2, they'll be in Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who are just 5-5 right now. And Rob Kendall from WIBC, I just ran into him in the hall, and he said, so what do you think about that game on Sunday? And, Kevin, I said, quite frankly, I was no help to him. We find out if the Colts are as good as we think they are and whether or not the Chiefs are as bad as they've been playing at this point.
Yeah, I guess a little tease, or I guess I'll reveal it right now. We're going to do our hardest, easiest, most entertaining games of Week 12. I think the hardest game to pick is this one. I especially given the spread. It's been hovering right around 3.5. Kansas City is the favorite. So I think it's a really difficult game. James, I know we touched on it a little bit in the opening hour, but we're getting some questions again about it. And we'll get clarity in about 3 hours from now. But for those that might have missed it yesterday, the latest on Daniel Jones and his calf injury.
Yes, he was limited yesterday. First time he's popped up on the injury report all year. And, of course, if you appear on the injury report after a bye week, that's even a little bit more alarming, I would say. But I think for anybody who's feeling some fear or doubt, deep breath. Thursday injury reports can go a million different ways, and it doesn't seem, at least from my understanding, trying to talk to a couple people behind the scenes, it's like it's a overly big issue, but at the same time, they want to be extra precautious with the most important player and then extra transparent as well with the league. Just think of the Ravens debacle and how much betting is involved in the NFL and how much that might have changed lines and how much people put money into those things. So you do have to be forthcoming with that information. And from my understanding, and again, this is not some, revelation, but it's better to be more transparent than you need to be versus holding something back that could get you in trouble. So I think that this isn't a huge deal, but like you said, Kevin, we will confirm that or not later today when we get out there for practice.
Why did it have to be a calf? Why couldn't it have been
an elbow?
Anything.
Yeah. Little thigh bruise or something?
Hell, I'll take a heart over a calf. Calves in this town? Oh, my gosh.
Did it start with Andrew? Wasn't that a calf injury at the very end there in training camp? The
ostrignome or something like that at one point with Andrew Luck.
We're trying to get people to listen to us. Don't bring that up.
Let's provide
Theragun sales in Indiana. You have to be through the roof around here.
Let's provide a little bit more on the Lamar Jackson news. I don't think maybe everybody was totally plugged in. Actually, it was against Mark's Bears. So basically, this is when Lamar Jackson was dealing with his injury situation. Baltimore had initially put him down on the Friday injury report as a limited participant, as a full participant and questionable for that game against the Bears. Then on Saturday, they went back and said, we screwed up. He was full, but he took all the scout team reps, which technically under, again, injury report lingo, which I think there's a ton of gray area with that, that meant he should have been listed as limited, and then they downgraded him to doubtful, and Mark's Bears ended up not playing against Lamar Jackson and still lost to Tyler Huntley, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. That's where, again, limited becomes the most gray area term on the injury report. Limited could mean you did 1% of the work or you did 99% of the work. So anytime you see that limited status, it's always just kind of an odd one. So, again, assuming Daniel Jones plays, I think now the question I would have is, does he feel limited in any way? Because if you go back to that Atlanta game in Germany, Daniel Jones, a huge reason why the Colts won that game was Daniel Jones' legs. He had some massive scrambles to win that game.
Yes.
None bigger than the 19-yarder on the 3rd and 21 there late in regulation. So if Daniel Jones feels a little hesitant about potentially scrambling, that could certainly impact some things. And just a little roster mechanic-wise, again, Anthony Richardson remains on injured reserve. I do not expect his return at all here in the near future. That would mean Riley Leonard is your backup still, and Brett Rippon is on the practice squad. So, if the Colts have uncertainty about Daniel Jones at all, their actions with what they do with Brett Rippon will probably indicate something. They would have to bring him up from the practice squad if they want some injury insurance.
Yeah, we talked about opportunities just a moment ago. This is a great opportunity for Daniel Jones, too, to quiet all the naysayers. There's still a lot of people nationally like, oh, he's going to turn back into the pumpkin before midnight here. You can see it over the last, for those not paying close attention, you could say, oh, you could see it over the last couple of games when he's faced pressure now. He's not taking great care of the football, and he's fumbled a few times. But he's finding ways, like you said in the Atlanta game, to move the football and keep it going and keep this team winning. He has an opportunity over the next 7 games with this schedule, with this team that wants to now make a deep run into the playoffs. He's got an opportunity to prove that, no, I am a really good quarterback, and I am surrounded by some terrific talent on offense, and we are going to take everybody on all comers right now. He's got a great opportunity here, Kevin.
Yeah,
him.
it's a big – yeah, certainly. And, we've talked about opportunity a lot with the NBA team right now. Some guys wilt, some guys thrive. Benedict Mathurin thrives. Jarris Walker's wilted. So, how will Daniel Jones, handle this when – he's been outstanding through the first 8 games. In the last 2 games, he's been a guy that you wouldn't want to hand $30, $40 million to annually. So, yeah, it's a massive, massive stretch, not only for this football team and their 8-2 mark and trying to get a home game in the playoffs for the first time in over a decade and trying to get the 1 seed, that elusive 1 seed, with what Denver and New England continue to do. So, yeah, I mean, it's as critical as it comes here. And, again, the schedule is very, very notable, and that team last night in Houston will provide quite the defensive challenge. I will stand by, again, psychologically. I get that a win over Kansas City would get talking more, but the bigger game the next 2 weeks is Houston. That's the. I mean, if you really had to win one of the two, you'd rather win Houston than you would Kansas City.
Be nice to win a game. Look, I want it to continue forever. You talked about the road to 30 touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor, but it wouldn't kill this team if they win a game where he goes, I don't know, for 85 yards and 1 touchdown, and they get a decent passing attack going, and they have great balance, and they win a game by a score of 27-20 or something like that, just to show there are more ways to win than just Jonathan Taylor running up and down the field all day long.
Yeah, I think they've shown that to some extent. Now, as of late, he's just gotten hotter than fish grease, it seems like, with this team. But I think they're a very balanced offense, and I don't think you can't be balanced if you're averaging, I think they're at 3.17 yards per, not yards, 3.17 points per drive this season, 4th highest mark of any team through their first 10 games this century. So that's over the last 25 years. So they've been very balanced. But yeah, Joe, I think they've proven to a degree already that they can win in a variety of ways. And some of that, to give some credit to the defense, comes with defensive playmaking late. I thought Zaire Franklin was brilliant in overtime for this team. So, yeah, they've shown some mental fortitude, some variety in ways to win. They've blown teams out. They've held on. They've done all the things you sort of need to check the box to see if you're for real. This is another box. This is another opportunity for you to kind of validate everything you've built toward. And as we talked about during the break, Jeff, you've earned these higher expectations at this point. And that's the beauty of having this much success this early is we're no longer looking at you to say, oh, can the Colts, typically as we do every year, can they sneak into the playoffs? Or wait, who needs to lose to help them out? Now it's just like, hey, can you
take care of business?
Yeah, and then I think to your point, Kevin, about the most important game, yes, I do think the Houston game is more important, but if you're trying to capture the AFC's number 1 seed, this is a big game for you. I don't know if you will have an opportunity to make up that ground considering how, quote-unquote, tough your schedule is compared to who the Patriots play down the stretch, who the Broncos play down the stretch.
I still don't want
grease hotter than bacon grease.
I love that. I've never heard fish grease.
I think fish
grease
might be a little hotter.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Real quickly before we break, no, Mark.
So inquisitive.
I asked that in all seriousness.
Yeah. The one thing I did, just pure obvious, not breaking any news here, but the great part about starting 8-2, Kevin, if you go 4-3, this Colts team ends up 12-5. That's terrific. It's terrific, but now the expectations are just that much higher because you are 8-2, right?
Yeah, well, and the top of the AFC, to James's point, you got teams at, 9-2 and 8-2 right now?
I don't know if 12 wins will get you there.
Again, there's only one bye.
Yeah.
There's only one bye, and that's the 1 seed. So I think that's why, yes, all of these games matter a ton.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll take a long look at the entire schedule for the National Football League. What should you really be paying attention to? I'll tell you all about it next. A lot of great football games in the NFL. We had a great week last week. Some pretty good early games coming up on Sunday, Mark Dykton. Maybe not so much on the late window this
Late
week.
window stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
That slate is if the tryptophan doesn't put you to sleep on Thursday, you might get an early nap on Sunday afternoon because those games stink. All 4 of them.
What do you
Tell
care?
us how you really feel, Mark.
Yeah,
They all stink.
you'll do your Friday game, and then you'll be done after next week.
Browns, Raiders, yuck. Jaguars, Cardinals makes me throw up. Eagles, Cowboys, I guess, is the highlight. And then you got Falcons, Saints. No thank you to all 4 of those.
You're not going to be excited by the Green Bay Minnesota game?
That's not a late game.
No, but I'm just saying.
I'll be excited about
In general.
The 1 o'clock window is just fine. It's the 4 o'clock window. Stinks.
All right. Time for us to talk about what we like, what we don't like, and what's going to be difficult to pick from this week, right?
Yep, so every week we go through the slate. So week 12 has arrived. What is the most excited you are for what game?
Boy, I think it is a good slate, Mark. I know you have clear disdain for the late window, but I am intrigued by Bucs-Rams from a Sunday Night Football standpoint. Colts-Chiefs, I think I speak for even biased market. You brought up Eagles-Cowboys. Like, are the Cowboys kind of hanging in there? And I honestly am super entertained by Bears-Steelers. I mean that in all seriousness. So I got a variety of ones, but I will settle on Bucs-Rams. I enjoy watching Baker Mayfield, love Matthew Stafford slinging it. And when you're in the Sunday night window after a Colts 1 o'clock game, I always enjoy it. So that's where I'll go for entertaining game.
I'll stick with the hometown team, Colts-Chiefs. I think this is a huge game. A lot of storylines. If the Colts win, hey, are they the new Super Bowl challenger? And then for the Chiefs, is the sky falling in Kansas City if they lose? If they win, are they backing, on? And can they make it to the 4th straight AFC championship? All those things. So I'm very excited for that matchup. Should be a crazy environment. And I was told that the parking lot will smell great when I get to Arrowhead because they will be out there tailgating. So get there early, and they said bask in the ambience of the meat being cooked.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm here and it's what we talk about, but I think by far the most entertaining game of the week's got to be the Colts and the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs ready to be toppled? Are they ready to be put to bed? Are the Colts really as good as we've seen so far? If nothing else, the Colts have played some pretty entertaining football over the last couple of weeks. Games coming down to the wire and everything like that. So I'm going to go Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs, and not even feel bad about it.
I'm going to throw this out there for an entertainment value, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Shedeur Sanders for a start.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be, if we're talking about most entertaining,
yeah, I would agree.
Either way, great play, bad play, it will be hilarious either way.
Doesn't it kind of feel like Cleveland's kind of left him out to dry, though? Is he really prepared to start a game in the NFL?
I don't know. I would have to read more about it, Jeff, but has any quarterback been prepared in Cleveland?
Browns, by the way?
Yes.
Should they just have Myles Garrett and Max Crosby wrestle?
Yes.
At the 50-yard line?
I'd be better. That'd be more entertaining.
And the winner wins the game.
I mean, look, I love Max Crosby.
An old-style 3-round state final. Put him in the singlets and let's go.
I don't know if anybody's ready for
Isn't there a
Myles Garrett.
state final? I believe there's a state final where, I want to say it might be Iowa, where they drop the football out of a helicopter and you fight over it and wrestle to whoever gets the ball gets the ball.
Well, that's what they used to do with
first.
the XFL. That's how the XFL would do their coin toss.
I love that.
It's like dogs playing fetch in the backyard.
My most excited game, Steelers-Bears. Is this the last Aaron Rodgers versus Bears game we get? He's owned them,
Are you
obviously.
going to be emotional thinking about that?
No. But
He'll be emotional the other way, though.
Yeah, I'll be giving middle
Are we
fingers
pretty sure
to my
he's going to
television.
play?
I don't know. I think he's going to play.
Said he wants to.
But I don't know what this Aaron Rodgers game is. But what was this earlier this week?
I'd rather not be. I mean, I'm not in Green Bay anymore. I feel like we can let bygones be bygones. Maybe I can. It's a great rivalry.
Saying he wants to put I'm not with Green Bay anymore. I want to be friends. Get the hell out of here, you snake in the grass. I want the Bears to turn in the 85 Bears for one game only. Just pummel the hell out of him. Get him gone.
That Aaron Rodgers is going to go Aaron Rodgers on the Bears.
Last segment, we got Snake in the Grass this segment.
I want him to
You guys
play.
are watching Thad Matta Old Westerns.
A lot of National Geographic going on.
I want Aaron Rodgers to play. If he doesn't play, boy, that will just be...
Mason Rudolph doesn't do it for you?
No. It has to be Aaron Rodgers. He wants to play. I need that in my veins on Sunday.
If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd want to play the Bears again, too.
Yeah. Well, his old ass can get pummeled in the ground, hopefully. All right, let's go easiest real quick. Easiest game of the week, you think, when you look at the spread?
I'm going to go back to the Titans. They served me well last week. You give me 12.5 at home with the Seahawks traveling a million time zones away. That's a cover. So I'm going to go Titans.
Oh, boy. Easiest game of the week. I'll probably go Jets-Ravens. I feel like the Ravens they kind of play with their foot a little bit, and I don't know, 13.5 feels like it's just a lot.
Tyrod Taylor starting, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going there with James, but I'm going the opposite. I think the Ravens roll because Tyrod Taylor, I don't know. I don't trust the Jets at all, and I think the Ravens are starting to feel themselves a little bit hit their stride, so I'm going to take the Ravens on the 13.5.
See, I felt that way, but even last week, I thought the Ravens didn't really look all that great. You know what I mean? So they're a team that, they beat the Browns last week 23-16. And I'm like, you're supposed to blow them out when they got Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders in there. So I don't know. They play with their foot a lot.
I'm going to go with another double-digit favorite. The Detroit Lions at home, 10-point favorites over the New York Giants. They're going to roll in that football game.
Who's starting at quarterback? Is it Russell Wilson? Because
I need some more Jameis Winston.
I thought Dart was kind of trending in a
Is
positive
he?
direction.
See, I don't even know who's playing a quarterback for the Giants.
I want Jameis.
I don't think it matters.
Jackson Dart is...
It ain't going to
Throw some
matter in
curveballs
Detroit
in
this week. I know that.
Fair.
Mark, hardest game for me is Colts Chiefs. I think it's really difficult. You know, you give Kansas City 3.5 at home. At some point, don't they figure it out? But then I'm thinking, wait a minute here. They've shown you enough here through 10 or 11 games, and the Colts have Jonathan Taylor, and we haven't talked about Jonathan Taylor enough this week. And the Colts are, I would say, pretty healthy coming out of the bye, and that secondary is one of the best easily in the NFL, if not the best.
I'm going to go Browns-Raiders. Raiders are 4-point favorites at home. Again, late game window stinks. Shedeur Sanders getting his first start, but you do have an intriguing matchup of opposite defensive ends in Max Crosby and Myles Garrett. They might have 10 sacks between the two of them with those teams, so I don't know. But Raiders getting 4, no thank you.
I think I might go Bears-Steelers. Bears 2.5-point favorites. I just feel like that game is a toss-up because of the Aaron Rodgers factor, and I'm scared to pick either way.
I'm going to pick a game that might be as ugly as your Browns-Raiders game. How about the New Orleans Saints, 2.5-point favorites at home over the Atlanta Falcons? Falcons have lost. They seem to be a better team, but they've lost 5 games in a row. I have no idea what's going to happen in that football game.
The Falcons, I keep thinking, are a better record team, and then you see they have 3 wins. Like, I thought they had like 5 or something. They've been a weird team.
It's the Kirk Cousins time now, too.
No thank you either on that. So. Coles Cash Kurt, no thank you.
Shout out to Kirk Cousins, the Hall of Fame bankroller.
You like that?
Yeah, he likes a lot of money.
All right. Anything else, my friend? All right, coming up in a moment, Matt Taylor and Taylor's Tidbits as we get ready for a game against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's all right here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Mark, I believe you're saying it is time to tango for the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show, James Boyd.
I'm sorry, that's salsa.
You doing some David Bowie salsa there? What was that?
Yeah, it was a little salsa. I don't know what a tango is, but I'll hit you with a couple of hips here.
Was it Victor Cruz that always did the salsa? When
Yes, he did.
He was a good player.
Yeah. It's Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, and Mark Dykton, and we bring in now a fifth voice on this fantastic merry-go-round we call the morning show. That would be Matt Taylor, the voice of the Indianapolis Colts, who is fresh off a bye week and ready and rested and raring to go, I'm sure. Matt, how was your bye week?
It was fantastic. It was good. Good to get a couple of days away and spend some time with the kiddos and reconnect. Got to watch my daughter play some basketball over the weekend. So it was good. It was good, but now it's good to be back with 7 games to go and a trip to Kansas City, so I'm fired up.
Mate, how does the jumper look for your daughter? Is it Indiana approved?
I'll tell you what, she's got the elbow in, the follow-through.
Beef. Balance eyes, elbow follow-through.
That's right. Within 12 feet, she's money. Outside of that, we got some work to do, right? We got to get the legs underneath her a little bit. So for a third grader, the jumper is pretty adequate at this point.
I like it.
You send her over to Rick Carlisle and Jenny Busek. She'll take care of everything, man.
That's it. Yeah, we need to send her to the Billy Keller basketball camp. That's where I would be as a kid.
I like it.
Rick Mounts basketball camp here. Before we get into the Electric Taylor's tidbits, as always, Matt Taylor, how was Berlin? What was your experience like? And certainly a very iconic stadium where I think you had a pretty iconic call.
Yeah, it was a blast. The game itself was just, beyond memorable. Olympic Stadium. James, you were there, so you can attest. I took some videos and pictures, but I don't think it really does it justice in terms of the energy and the volume of the crowd and how much fun those fans were having. So, the trip itself was just an absolute blur because I think we were there like almost just a hair over 60 hours. So we landed German time Friday at 10:30 and left immediately after the game. So I had some jet lag going there, not so bad coming back, but the game itself, the stadium, the way it ended in overtime, it was just beyond memorable. It's an experience that I will never forget.
Well, that's great stuff, and I'm glad that you came back okay, and the Colts came back okay, and it got a little hairy there, but they pulled it off in overtime. Looking back on the first 10 weeks, we know the Colts have won 8 games, so there's success right there, but how do you feel about this team? Who are they at this point in time?
Well, I think we know who they are, and I think that's a good thing because the Colts are a team that on offense, they're so diverse and they're so multiple, and I think that's a big reason why teams, not to get into the weeds a little bit, but on defense, I think that's what defensive coordinators kind of say to themselves going up against the Colts is if we just sit back and we play coverage and we only rush 4, we're going to get annihilated. We're going to give up 30 points, and it's going to be a long day for us. The Colts so far on the season, they have seen the 5th most blitzes on the season, and I just think that's what the Colts can get used to now going forward on offense. That's just going to be like a regular day at the office for this offensive line, for their blitz pickup operation, because I think teams know the Colts are just too diverse, and Daniel Jones has shown himself to be too lethal in this offense under Shane Steichen and too accurate with, the 3 receivers and Tyler Warren. And then if we just sit back and we don't dedicate ourselves to bringing pressure, Jonathan Taylor's going to run all over us, and he still might, like the Falcons found out last week. They were blitzing their brains out, and Taylor still ran for 244. But I just think that's what opposing defenses now have to do against the Colts to give themselves a chance because of how efficient this Colts offense can be if you don't show that aggressiveness. And then on defense, they have shown themselves to be this year so far, and I think it's going to turn a little bit, at least potentially this Sunday, with Charvarius Ward coming back in the secondary. But, so far it's a defense that gives up some volume, but the point total is down because it's a clutch defense in terms of their takeaway ability, especially, red zone takeaways or takeaways in plus territory, 4th down stops, turnovers on downs, key sacks. That is what is keeping the point total down. But again, this Sunday, it could turn into it could go from a good defense to an elite or great defense because of the secondary and the potential and the experience you have in that part of the defense, which I think that's the part of the defense that has to drive it, as we know under Lou Anarumo when he's had ultra success playing elite teams with the Cincinnati Bengals when he was the defensive coordinator there.
All right, it's the final hour of the week. It's the most anticipated part of my week. It's Taylor's Tidbits.
Let's dive into the nitty-gritty.
I never knew that.
Grab a seat and take notes.
As if.
There's storylines all over the upcoming game.
You serious, Clark? Say what?
It's time for Taylor's Tidbits.
All right, Taylor's Tidbits here. There's a lot of them. There's some juice to this Kansas City team. So I'm going to combine a couple of them just so we can get through this as fast as we can. So we know about Kansas City, and they're having a tough go of it record-wise so far this year, right? They're 5-5, third place in the AFC West. They are 3+ games out of first place in their own division for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. The last time the Chiefs did not make the playoffs, 2014. Patrick Mahomes was a redshirt freshman then at Texas Tech. So I think that matters today because the Colts are going to see a desperate Chiefs team on Sunday who have never lost 3 games in a row ever under Patrick Mahomes when he's been under center for the Kansas City Chiefs. So a lot of fans think this Chiefs dynasty is coming to an end. Not so fast, dudes. All right, the 2024 Chiefs last year, they won by an average of 6 points per game. Through 10 weeks this year, the 2025 Chiefs actually have a better point differential, winning by an average of 7 points per game, and they have a better point differential so far this year than they did all of last year when they were 15-2. So the Chiefs are still moving the ball. They're still a lead on both sides of the ball. Offensively, they rank top 10 in scoring. They're top 5 in passing. They're top 7 in total offense. They've only committed 6 turnovers on the season, and they're really good inside the red zone. And as you guys have discussed all week long here, the biggest difference this year for Kansas City compared to last year, they're just not winning the close games. They're 0-5 in one-score games this year, which is so unlike the Chiefs because beginning in the 2023 regular season and on into the 2024 regular season and postseason, the Chiefs rattled off an NFL record 17 consecutive victories in one-score games. So, again, I think this is going to be a great game that comes down to the wire, and I think the team that is better in crunch time is going to be the team that wins the game. All right, let's talk about where the game is being played this Sunday. It's at Arrowhead Stadium, arguably one of the toughest places to play in the NFL for the opposing team. It opened in 1972, but you go back to 2014, the Chiefs had this setup here where Chiefs fans set a Guinness World Record for the loudest crowd roar at a sports stadium. Chiefs fans that night on a Monday night football game, they reached a peak decibel level of 142.2. Now you ask yourself, how loud is that? 142 decibels is the equivalent to a jet engine taking off. That is the level of an Indy car at full speed. That is the level of fireworks going off at close range. Sounds at that level are above the human pain threshold, which is around 120 decibels, and are considered painful and dangerous by the CDC. Exposures to sounds at 142 decibels at a consistent level, even for short periods of time, throw that in there too, that can cause physical pain, eardrum rupture, and permanent hearing damage. All right, so the Colts have to weather that decibel level storm coming up on Sunday. And if you're a Chiefs fan, go to the game at your own risk. And then the last one I have is the Colts have this hex over the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They've topped the Chiefs in each of the last 2 games. You go back to 2019 and again in 2022. But including the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is 1-2 against the Colts, and Indianapolis is the only team that Patrick Mahomes has never beaten in the regular season. So if he wins on Sunday, he'll join Tom Brady as the only quarterback to beat 31 other teams at age 30 or younger. And on top of Mahomes, Andy Reid, the head coach for Kansas City, he hadn't had much success against the Colts either. Andy Reid has the 4th most wins in NFL history, but he's just 3-7 all time against the Colts, including, if you go back, Kevin, I know you remember this, that epic loss for the Chiefs in the 2013 playoffs. The Colts trailed by 28 points, came back to win 45-44 in the wild card game at Lucas Oil Stadium. So those are the Taylor tidbits. We got Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, decibel levels. What else can you want on a Friday morning, boys?
Boy, like a Thanksgiving feast, just pick and choose from a variety of different angles. That was I feel like I just left Country Kitchen. That was excellent, Matt Taylor.
I know, jet engines.
Man. I'm not going to lie, when he went CDC on us, I started thinking I was getting swabbed before attending Colts practice today and back in the COVID
Boy,
days.
those tests were invasive.
Matt Taylor, my favorite memory. Well, I shouldn't say favorite, but the memory I have, non-T.Y. Hilton over the top, non-Andrew Luck Superman from that game, I remember Derrick Rogers.
Yeah.
Catching like an Alec Pierce ball. You know, one of those. Like, oh, yeah, he's somewhere down there. Let's throw it up to him. The Colts were getting blown out. I mean, they were down, I would say, probably at least 21, 24, 28, something like that, early in the third quarter, and Andrew Luck heaved one down there to Derrick Rogers, and it was one of those 50-yard chunks that got a quick score. I want to say maybe Mathis had a strip sack of Alex Smith on the next series, and next thing you know, that place turned into some decibel levels of, Alex Pillow on lap 200.
Yeah, for my money, I've been to every Colts game since 2008. I don't think I missed one home game in that span. And for my money, that is the loudest moment in the history of that building. And I don't know if they keep track of those things, but for my money, that is the loudest moment. I mean, literally snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And it's funny, the reason why I brought up that game, it's kind of fresh in my memory, because whatever day it was, like the second or third day of training camp, some production crew came into town in conjunction with NFL Films, and they asked me to be a part of a documentary chronicling the NFL's greatest comebacks, and they picked that game for one of their episodes. And so I did, a couple of one-offs for them, and I had completely forgotten about, because I went back and watched that game to kind of refresh my memory of it. I had completely forgotten about the Derrick Rogers 50-plus yard touchdown. I mean, in order to have a comeback like that, of that magnitude, when you're down 28 points, you have to score quickly, because you just don't have enough time. You're not going to get enough possessions and stops in order to pull it off. So if you do it, you have to do it quickly. And I think in that second half had 5 scoring possessions of less than 2 minutes and big plays within it. And that was just epic. And, that was a completely different era for the Chiefs. Andy Reid was a part of it. But, in terms of a moment for the Colts, that was an all-timer for sure.
Okay, now you got my mind thinking. Loudest moment in Lucas Oil Stadium history. You brought up, obviously, that game. Probably the Hilton touchdown would be.
It was the Hilton play, for sure.
Right. I think of the Jonathan Taylor run against New England on the Saturday night a few years ago when he broke into the open field. I would assume Robert Mathis getting Peyton from behind in the end zone where Eric Walden almost jumped on it there. I would assume that would be up there. Maybe 4th and 2 against New England. Melvin Bullitt making the play. That's early Lucas Oil years. Those are some of the others I would probably throw on that list. I'm sure I'm forgetting several others.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. Those would be the ones I would circle too. I didn't have a great perspective of the Melvin Bullitt hit, just because I was in the press box and you're kind of encaged up there. The other ones I was actually on the field for, and I can attest to. So hopefully some more magic the rest of this year at home for the Colts, trying to close out the division and trying to get a home playoff game for the first time since 2014. That would be the goal.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, one quick question for me before we go about the game on Sunday. With this beefed-up secondary now, Sauce Gardner coming in, having a few days to kind of figure out what's going on. Maybe you get Mooney Ward back. What do you think that Anarumo defense looks like against Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
How do you think they play that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think the biggest X factor, Jeff, is what do the Colts do on Travis Kelce? I mean, is it Kenny Moore? Do you play that matchup? Or perhaps, a guy who's been, I think, really good since he's joined the Colts against tight ends is Jalen Jones. Do you find a little bit of a niche role for him and play sub-packages where he's on the field and can focus just on the matchup of Travis Kelce? I had this written down on one of my Taylor's tidbits, but didn't get to it just in terms of time. But since you brought it up, I think Travis Kelce, he does so much so well, but where he obviously impacts the game, and, we watch the Chiefs every week because they're on prime time. They play, every Sunday, Monday night. But it's yards after the catch for him. He's got the most yards after the catch ever in the history of the NFL by an NFL tight end. He's got over 6,000 career yards on Yak. In fact, the only player he trails in NFL history in yards after the catch is Marshall Faulk. So you just can't let Kelce turn checkdowns into big play first downs and continue drives for Patrick Mahomes. And also in saying that, I know this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but you can't let Patrick Mahomes get out of the pocket in this game. And the Colts have done a really good job of that each of the last two times they played the Chiefs. It's not necessarily the sack total and the number of times you get Patrick Mahomes down in this game. You just can't let him scramble because he's a deadly scramble player, either with his legs rushing the football beyond the line of scrimmage, or that's when he kind of turns into a shortstop with the underhand throws and the behind the back stuff and the sidearm. It's kind of like backyard football. So from a secondary standpoint, it's what do you do in terms of the matchups, and how do you slow down Travis Kelce from having a big game with a high volume of catch that then turns into a high volume of receiving yards with yards after those catches.
All right, buddy. Have fun. You're back in it Sunday. We'll look forward to pregame at 10 a.m., the kickoff at 1, and Colts Chiefs. But is this the biggest game the Colts have played? How long? How many years have it been now since they played a game like this?
Well, I mean, I think it's a big game. The math doesn't say it's an enormous game because you've built up you've done such a good job of, racking up wins and giving yourself a margin for error. I think the biggest game the Colts have played in recent times was just that win in your end game against Houston that didn't go their way. But that's kind of a storyline of where the Colts are at, right? Because they're coming off a bye. They've had some time off. They're 8-2, but they still accomplish nothing, right? I mean, 8-2 is great. It still gets you nothing. And we've seen in recent past in the AFC South, teams that start well, they've collapsed. Houston faded towards the end of last year, but they were able to still kind of hang on for dear life. A couple years ago, I think in 2022, the Jaguars got off to a great start. They fell apart. They couldn't close the deal. We've seen in 2021, the Colts have two opportunities towards the end of the season to clinch and basically punch their ticket to the playoffs. They had a 98% chance going into Week 16. Couldn't get it done against the Raiders. Couldn't get it done against the worst team in the NFL. That year against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the final game of the season. 2023, as I said, the win in your end game against the Texans. I think the scars of those negative circumstances are still with the core group of players that are still here with the team. And so they're going to use that to their advantage and put things into perspective with 7 games to go here in this regular season.
All right, buddy. We'll listen for you Sunday. Have a good time.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Matt.
The one, the only Matt Taylor,
best
the voice
in the biz
of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. And, I talk about that. He's in terms of the numbers, yes, he's all right. But, Kevin, psychologically, this feels like a big deal, doesn't it, Sunday?
Yeah, but Matt's right. Yeah, number-wise, next Sunday.
I get that.
Next Sunday matters more.
But it feels.
And the Sunday after that matters probably even more with that. Joe writes, by the way, alongside Matt Taylor and Lara Overton. Again, it's been Joe and Charles Arbuckle in these road games.
I like saying his last name, Arbuckle.
Sure you check it down?
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Colts at Chiefs, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. Pregame starts at 10 at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Daniel Jones listed on the injury report yesterday with a calf injury, Kevin. What's our level of concern, 0 to 100?
Yeah, I'm probably not much higher than like a 20-ish. Calf makes me worry. And again, even if he plays, it comes down to, okay, on a 3rd and 7, if George Karlaftis is humming from the backside, can Daniel Jones escape it and get 13 yards like he did in Germany against Atlanta on several big occasions? I think that's more of it. Not so much will he play. I mean, quarterbacks play through calf injuries often, and They're limited to the pocket, when they have that. So be something to keep an eye on. But again, Mooney Ward continues to progress through the concussion protocol. If he gets cleared today, he'll be good to go. So honestly, outside of DeForest Buckner, it's a pretty healthy bunch. Tyquan Lewis got back to practice too yesterday.
Oh, that's big. How about Sauce Gardner? Is he up, running 100%, ready to go?
Yeah, he didn't have any injuries, so yes,
I just mean in terms of picking up the playbook and scheme and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that the extra week certainly helped in that regard, Jeff, but I thought you were alluding to Travaris Ward as well. Is he up and running? And I think that's probably the bigger question as far as the injury front goes. But, yeah, Sauce should be good to go. Very smart player. You can't be a two-time first-team All-Pro if you can't, learn a playbook rather quickly, but can he be paired with Mooney Ward? That's another question.
All right, there was one NFL game last night. It involved an AFC South team. Mark Dykes and the Houston Texans over the Buffalo Bills 23-19. It's the last time you saw Josh Allen just getting the snot knocked out of him all night long.
Not very often. It seemed like he was under siege the entire game. Every time he dropped back, he had like a defender in his face relatively quickly. So they were feasting on that Bills offensive line. They were getting banged up. Josh Allen went down at one point, which that looked concerning, but he got up and ended up playing more. But yeah, I haven't seen Josh Allen look like that in quite a while, and all I kept thinking is, this AFC South is not over, and that Texans defense looks pretty ferocious compared to what we've seen in the Colts offensive line last couple weeks. So that could be pretty interesting in a couple Sundays.
And Kevin, they sacked him 8 times, hit him a bunch more. I know it's 2 weeks from now, but that's got to be a huge concern for you in the Colts.
Yeah, it's the best defensive end duo in the league. Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, they're menaces. They have done some damage against the Colts, certainly, and last night the whole nation saw what they can do. So, yeah, 10-day rest now for Houston. C.J. Stroud expected to be back for that one. I will say the coolest play of the game last night, though, was Buffalo converting the 4th and 27 hook and ladder.
That was sweet.
That was
Boise State,
cool play, yeah.
Freddie Mitchell.
Freddie Mitchell had one of the great quotes of all time. In an NFC Championship game as the Eagles advanced to the Super Bowl, he had a huge catch. He said, I just want to thank God for giving me these hands.
Amen. Michelle Tafoya, back to you.
All right. That's the National
Lisa
Football
Salters,
League.
back to you.
College football, both IU and Purdue taking a week off as they get ready for the bucket game a week from today. Meanwhile, college basketball last night, both those teams were in action.
No mention of Notre Dame Senior Day, the emotions in that stadium.
Cut his mic off, Mark. Cut his mic off.
I do this on purpose. After every check down, I give you a chance.
You're our leader. You're our quarterback. You have all the games in front of you.
To throw in whatever he wants to at the end of every check down. Do I not?
Stop throwing him the life raft, Jeff.
Let
him drown over there.
Marcus Freeman bulletin board material. A picture of Jeff Rickard's face, just like Bishop Lewis has got Miles McLaughlin's face in their locker.
They all look at that and go, who's that? All right,
the enemy.
So tell us about Notre Dame this weekend.
Syracuse is terrible. They're a 35-point favorite. I hope everyone stays healthy, and I hope Notre Dame wins convincingly, and I hope Pittsburgh beats, Georgia Tech. I hope Miami loses. I hope Oklahoma loses to Missouri.
It's not a hope.
Not that
is that Carmelo's son, by the way,
and
playing for Syracuse?
USC to beat
Cayenne
Oregon.
Anthony?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is. College basketball last night. Purdue, a winner over Memphis, 80-71, but it was an ugly basketball game, Kevin.
Yeah, a lot of whistles, a lot of fouls, some extracurriculars for sure. I thought C.J. Cox, again, I've said it all morning long, he's Andrew Nemhard, just does all the little things. He was critical to Purdue. So, Braden Smith shoots, 2 of 14, and Trey Kaufman-Renn, again, gets benched after his technical there to start the second half. Purdue, definitely with their probably C-plus effort, finds a way to win. Texas Tech tonight. It's a late one, 9:30 Purdue fans, approximate tip time. So start brewing the coffee. JT Toppin, a great player. No relation to Obi. Great player for Texas Tech.
You can get a Notre Dame-Syracuse win, or Notre Dame basketball knocks off Kansas.
Definitely Notre Dame basketball over Kansas.
Look at that. See? Sicko.
He's a
sicko.
To build the NCAA tournament resume,
please
Mark.
send him to some kind of like a asylum
Vegas
or something.
Coming up next week, Mark. Thank you for a little Notre Dame basketball talk. That was refreshing, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thought Jeff might lead me down that path.
This is exactly why leave open the end of the check down. Kevin, anything else you want to
throw in?
Stop doing
that. Just slam the door shut.
Man, oh man.
Don't let him in.
Butler plays this afternoon, 2:00 tip against South Carolina at the Greenbrier Tip-Off in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. South Carolina is undefeated at 4-0, and you can hear that game on 92.7 Fuego, beginning at 1:30.
Fuego is also where you can go hear Kevin Bowen's Notre Dame thoughts from here on out.
Going to give you your own podcast.
Me
Notre Dame
encanta
basketball.
Notre Dame.
Boy, I just got a little excited between the legs when you said that.
Mark.
That's peak Mark.
Oh, my.
Some great semi-state football action coming your way tonight. 6A, Westfield at Fort Wayne Carroll. Warren Central will be at Brownsburg. And 5A, Concord at Maryville. Bloomington South plays at New Pal, who's going up a class to try and win another state championship. Heritage Hills plays at Roncalli in 4A. And, of course, Miles McLaughlin and Knox in 3A will be played at Fort Wayne Lures. Just some of the games that are on tap tonight around the state. This has been a fun. It's always good, but seems to be an extra fun football season in high schools this year.
Yeah, hope Mother Nature is able to hold off tonight. But yeah, it should be some terrific matchups tonight and a little bit tomorrow as well. And again, the Pacers, a massive underdog tonight, 13.5-point underdog. They are as healthy as I guess they can be at this point. Right now, from an injury report, we'll see about Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell certainly will be the lead guy, but Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen both questionable. Max Strus has missed the start of this season, so we'll see if the Pacers can pull off an upset again. Their next 3 games against 1, 3, and 4 in the East right now: Cleveland, Detroit, and Toronto. So you're not playing the Charlotte Hornets again anytime soon.
You know what, though? As banged up as Cleveland is, I kind of like that point spread for the Pacers. What do you think, James?
What's the spread again?
I would hope
13.5. Did you say?
Yeah, I gotta like that.
Gosh.
Anything else? Anybody wants to throw in? Mark, you got anything you want to talk about the Bears for 5 minutes? Or anything?
No.
Any Illinois tidbits you want to throw in, James?
We got to get to break, man.
Man,
you got to hijack the show, man. You're our leader. Tell him to shut up. We got to break.
That's what the man said. Let's do it.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hope you're having a great time this morning with us on a Friday. We've had a blast so far. Enjoyed speaking with Dominic Miranda, Operation Football. Greg Rake Straw, as always. Big night for semi-state and football. And, of course, Matt Taylor with Taylor's Tidbits. If you missed any of that, you can go back and find us at 1075thefan.com. You can read that and also catch up with the Colts. Kevin Bowen's writing about that stuff there. What have you been writing about for the Colts this week over at The Athletic, my man?
I actually left the facility last night, Kevin. No joke. At like 7-something.
Really?
Yes, because I was down the rabbit hole. I had to do a podcast earlier with some people at The Athletic. And it's always funny when we all have jobs, and it happens. You get the message from somebody within your organization. They're like, hey, we really appreciate you have the time to do this. It's not really a question. I just had to do it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I got to sign up for this, and do some more talking about the Colts. A lot of popular teams out there, and Colts are one of them. And then after that, I basically went on a rabbit hole of film and looking at advanced stats to try to break down Daniel Jones and his turnovers as of late. So I would encourage you all to check that out. Oh. Me and Ted Wynn, our film guy at The Athletic, looked at all the turnovers, really the interceptions. And if you look, the fumbles as well. We have a chart in there kind of laying out what happened, how it happened. And I think it just adds more context to what we're seeing because so many people are talking about the turnovers and the issues there for Daniel Jones. But as I tried to explain, some of it is on him. Some of it is on the offensive line. So perhaps some of that is coaching. So really thorough piece, I would say, and I put a lot of effort into it. So I would encourage you all after the show to check that out. And again, there's a lot of different things you could look at. One stat I'll throw out there for those listening that stood out to me, Kevin, is just how great Daniel has been on intermediate throws. I believe he's 5th in the league in completion percentage from throws that are between 10 and 19 air yards. And so he's had a lot of success there. But when those air yards go up to 20 yards, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, or at least, not really at the level of the rest of his game. I believe he's 9 of 29 on passes of over 20 air yards. So all of that in mind, one of the issues that we kind of looked at in the Falcons game was that they really took away the middle of the field and forced him to throw it down the field. And now he can do it, but it's like, how greedy do you want to be if teams do that? Bust. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, the one big play he had in that game, it was Alec Pierce catching in double coverage. Now, I don't know if you would teach your quarterback to do that all the time, but those are some of the nuances that I think other teams might look at and say, oh, that worked a little bit for the Falcons. What if we can, have a similar effect where we force you to try to beat us with your arm and see if you, A, take the bait and just try to force a couple throws, because a couple of these throws he's making, he's clean in the pocket. It's just a bad decision. And then 2, are there other little wrinkles you can find underneath to still keep that offense humming?
Looking forward to reading that. This will be a lot of fun. Check the fan text line real quick. We were talking about Purdue last night and their 80-71 victory against Memphis. Evan writes, gentlemen, speaking of Purdue game, did you see the Indy Star report that one of the rims was not level? Purdue's basket in the first half, 23 foul shots for Memphis, 11 foul shots for the Boilers. Safe to say those refs haven't reffed in the Big Ten. But I did see the report about both teams shooting less than in each of the halves they had to play against what one Purdue player thought was a rim that was maybe a little too high.
Yeah, I think Fletcher Lawyer commented on that after the game. Granted, Fletcher shot it very, very well. Maybe that's why Braden Smith had a little bit more of an off night than usual.
I'd use that excuse.
Is that an actual, I don't know, is that actual high school gym, or are they in some ballroom?
I'm not sure.
They're in Bahamas. I don't know what they have for an arena down there. I've never been down there for a game. We'll have to do that. We should see if Radio 1 will foot the bill for us to go next year do some shows remotely from
I'll tell you what,
from one of those island
I'll
tournaments.
Sacrifice new chairs and mics for that.
Mm-hmm. I'll stand. Don't even need chairs.
We were talking about Notre Dame. You've got company. Well, I'll talk about the Notre Dame in a minute, but Colleen said she's off to Kansas City. Can't wait. Hopefully she'll be returning with the same result as coming back from Berlin. Go Colts. Colleen is traveling with the Colts this year.
This is from the text line?
Yep.
Colleen?
From the time. Colleen? Yeah. Is it Colleen?
Colleen or Colleen?
Colin.
Colin?
I've known a Colleen and a Colleen, so I'm not sure which one it is.
I've never heard
My
that.
mother's Colleen Bowen. I'm going to guess this is Colleen as well. So safe travels over there.
Shout out to Mama Bowen.
Sister-in-law's name's Colleen. If I call her Colleen, I might catch a slap.
Wow.
Is that a body part? Or is that colon?
Colon.
I'm going to flush that out.
Colonoscopy.
Come Friday next week.
No, I've known a Colleen and a Colleen.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I'm not as clearly as
You don't know every
educated.
human in the world, Kevin.
No,
Yeah.
clearly not.
The hell's the matter with you?
I think Kevin is one degree of separation removed from every other person in Indianapolis.
I do kind of feel that way. I'm not gonna lie. I get a lot of, hey, I told you I was over in Germany. I get somebody yelling at me, hey James, love the show with you and Kevin and the rest of the crew. And I'm like, you could have just said you love the show with me and left him out, but you know, gotta stay humble.
Team, come on.
Tell him
That's
to kick
awesome.
rocks.
We got a little international flavor.
No, that was actually a legit thing. I want to say it happened twice. So
Like listener Tony is a very frequent YouTuber who we have in here from London, and he was over states. I believe he attended a JMV remote. That's awesome. I went on my international rant a few weeks ago. I think it's really cool the NFL does it. I know some people hate it, but James, I think you not to put words in your mouth. I think you enjoyed your Berlin experience. It sounded like there.
yeah, for sure. And the German fans are like legit football fans. I think it's like the highest growing market outside of the U.S. for American football.
And Jeff, you would know this probably better than I or us, but you know when they had the World League, Germany was one of the more prominent countries, correct?
Yeah, they did. They had a couple of teams over there.
Like if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Oliver Luck, ran it, and
He did.
Andrew Luck's always talked about how his favorite players were. He remembers Adam Vinatieri playing in the World League back in the day.
I like this one too, and I get it. Some people just want to complain, I think. But how could none of you know what the Bahamas room looked like? No one watched this game. Seriously, we were talking about never having been in that particular.
Yeah, I watched the whole
arena.
game. I just didn't know if it was
just like, are we supposed to get like a 3D tour before the game? Or like what?
This is Zillow.
Right.
Can't be checking out rooms.
What kind
Don't
of
think they
comment
had
is
some
that?
drone shots in the building
Gosh,
last
man,
night.
we're trying our best here, Lord.
They were slipping like none other there. I was worried about that. Sometimes you get these, random courts and everything, and Braden Smith took a fall mid-court, and I was like, oh, boy.
Yeah. All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk about what we plan on watching this weekend, what we're most excited about, and we'll read a couple of more texts here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, for those wondering, if you've been watching sports for any length of time, you'd know that the Bahamas tournament, depending on, you might not watch because your team's not in every year, but it's always a small venue like that. It's really about ESPN created that event and put Bahamas on it so they could try to get some extra tournaments in this time of what I call island tournaments. There's a bunch of island tournaments this time of year, and most of those islands don't really have a need for full-time big arenas, so they don't have them.
Rather be in the Bahamas or Kansas City this weekend?
This weekend, I'd rather be in Kansas City. Watch the football game. I'd rather watch that football game. What about you?
Well, I have no
Watch
choice.
the game from the Bahamas.
I was going to say,
if you have the choice, where would you rather be?
I was going to say the Mark answer he just gave sounded pretty enticing.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm
my
excited
feet
for
up
the
on the
environment. Jokes aside, I know there probably were some Purdue fans. They travel well in the Bahamas, but there should be a great number of Colts fans over at Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday for what I believe to be the biggest game of the season so far. Now, the caveat there is that you've played so well this year that you kind of guaranteed yourself to have a bigger game come postseason time. At minimum, a playoff game, at least one of them. But yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. I think this is one where you can really put the Chiefs kind of in a hole. And I think at some point they have to kind of reload that roster. Patrick Mahomes will be there for years to come, but similar to Tom Brady during his years, they had like that lull in between where they kind of were okay, and then they kind of rose back up to be in championship prominence. Is this the beginning of that, and could you be sort of pushing them closer to that? So I think this is a fun opportunity for the Colts to kind of tell the Chiefs, hey, man, you're getting old. Get out of here.
I like that. I'm all in favor of telling them to get out of here, whether they're old or not. Kevin, I know you've got Notre Dame on your mind this weekend, but Mark, is there any college football game that holds any attraction for you with IU and Purdue not playing?
Yeah, it is a weird slate that they have such a late bye weeks. 1 week to go. Now they're getting ready for that.
I am looking forward to USC Oregon.
Yeah,
that's
say,
the
USC
game I was hoping
Oregon,
everybody would point to.
Yeah, that's
Oregon
where game
does
day
it for me.
is. So that's going to be 3:30, I believe. You got a couple.
Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah, a couple notable SEC games. Oklahoma, Missouri could have some playoff implications as well. But aren't we kind of in that SEC time where they all play like Little Sisters of the Poor too? Don't
Pretty
they all
much.
do that at one point in November? They all play like
and they do that
Samford and McNeese.
Because like Indiana, Purdue too, they're also trying to get ready for their big rivalry games to end the season next week too. So
BYU, Cincinnati, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, that would have some playoff implications as well.
Should we make our picks?
Let's do it. All right, Chiefs, Colts, guys. How are we rolling here? Daniel Jones status up in the air, I guess. Maybe a little bit, kind of, maybe.
I assume he plays. I'll go Chiefs 27-23. Yeah, I've lost so much money betting against Mahomes, thinking he was dead. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather take the L than lose financial money on it. So they've had all these one-possession games. I don't think they're as dead as everyone makes it out to seem. There is part of me that says I'm not giving the Jonathan Taylor run game enough credit. But I say backs against the wall, they will respond.
I'm going to go Kansas City as well, and we were talking about it and having fun with it earlier this week, Kevin, but I think the difference in this game, honestly, might be Harrison Butker and Michael Badgley. I worry about that.
Advantage Chiefs, you're saying there?
Advantage Chiefs there. I'm right along the lines of you, too. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll say 28-24 Chiefs.
I'm going 31-20.
I'm sorry, 31-24. Sorry.
All right. I'm going 31-28 Colts.
Look at that.
Yeah.
No, I can't fist pound you. You just picked against them.
I want you to be right, though.
All right, I'll take that. But yeah, I'm thinking that seriously, the Colts, this offense has been potent all year. Even when on their off days, they can roll out of bed and score 27-28. Had 31 against the Falcons, even with 2 turnovers. So I think they get it done against this Chiefs teams and hands the Patrick Mahomes era Chiefs their 3rd straight loss, which would be the first time since Patrick Mahomes took the reins a few years ago. Not a few years ago, but a while ago at this point.
Chiefs have their backs against the wall. Daniel Jones has a sudden calf injury. Can the Colts offensive line slow down Steve Spagnuolo's defense? I don't know. There's a lot of things going against the Colts this week despite coming out of a bye. So I think the Chiefs pull out all the stops to get the 30-24 win on Sunday. And the Colts get ready for the Texans a week from Sunday.
I'm on here on the island by myself. Come Monday morning, when I call in, just holler at your boy. Colts going to get this done.
Unless you're on like 9 different flights.
You never know. Look, I'm looking at the flights now. Lord, let's hope that the flight is not at the crack of dawn.
I got a prop bet for you, though. Okay. How about Tyler Warren over 60 yards receiving at plus 136? I think he's going to be a big part of what they try to do, Kevin.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. He was great, obviously, in Germany. I mean, some critical catches. I want to say the yards for him maybe hasn't been as consistently high over the last month or so, but, boy, talk about the tight end matchup. You know, we watched the greatest tight end of all time on the home sideline, and at some point in Tyler Warren's career, maybe we're saying that about him.
My boy Michael Badgley will get it done. 3-point victory for the Colts.
Anything else you want to throw in to finish this off here, Mark?
No.
You going to go get your health screened
and Mooney
on
Ward
December
gets a
7th?
pick in his return to Kansas City. Let's just do it all.
Have a great weekend.